Welcome to DA Ex Machina, with your hosts, Naoma Finn, Steve Wildman Munrotis, and D.A. Roberts. Join us as we explore writing, books, authors, and all things horror. We will delve into the sightings, reports, encounters, and tales of monsters. We will also explore the writings of D.A. Roberts along with others in the horror genre. We will investigate the possibilities that monsters may not be safely locked away in the pages of books. They might just walk among us even now. Grab some popcorn and lock the doors. It's going to be a creepy journey. Welcome to DA Ex Machina.
Good evening, folks, and thank you for joining us on a Saturday night edition of DA Ex Machina. Sorry about the technical issues. We're having some problems with my computer, and apparently it did not go live when I told it to. So, well, we're a few minutes late. I apologize for that, but go ahead and introduce my my group for the night. This wild band of miscreants. Steve Wildman Munrotis, my partner in crime on Saturdays. Joining us tonight is Nick Valente of the North American Dogman Project, Region 3, Leon Howarth from Manchester, England, and Carrie Pocket Doc Davis from Colorado. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. Doc, how the hell are you?
Wyatt, I am rolling.
Guys, thanks for joining us.
What an animal.
Nick, how you doing tonight, brother?
Fantastic, man. Fantastic.
Appreciate having you here. Steve, glad you're feeling better, brother.
Oh, yes. It's good to be feeling better.
Well, I'm glad you're here, man. Leon, thank you for getting up in the middle of the night over there to be part of this. We really appreciate it.
That's not a problem. I always love to come in on air. It's stupid o'clock here, but as you can see, my complexion's marvelous this morning.
Plenty of energy drinks to keep you going. There we go.
Yeah, you drink enough of those, you'll get jaundiced. You'll have some more color.
Start getting heart palpitations.
Background.
Yeah.
We had to call an ambulance for you live on the air.
That'll make me cough.
Other than the technical difficulties, we're all doing pretty well tonight. I'm fighting off a little bit of a cold myself, but hoping that goes away. Drinking enough coffee to keep that in line, and if that doesn't do it, well, I've got plenty of Irish whiskey to knock the rest of it out. So hopefully we'll be doing well. Tonight we are going to be discussing dogman attacks in the state of Maine and in the surrounding areas of New England. We might even delve into some of the other ones across the country, as well as a few in England, because I know that Leon has been doing some investigating, found some really interesting stuff. I can't wait for that new video that you're shooting is coming up. That's going to be an awesome video. But the main story that we're really going to delve into is about a family that was attacked by a pack of dogmen in Maine. And Nick Valente, he's investigated this quite a bit. The North American Dogman Project in that area for the whole of New England is right under his umbrella. So any investigations in the New England area are all Nick. So we're going to have Nick tell us about that, because I know he's really investigated a lot more than I have, even though I've delved into it quite a bit. I do want to go up there. Nick, go right in, man.
I've been up in Maine quite a few times. Unfortunately, it's a heck of a trip for me. It's close to 1,000 miles one way, and I usually drive it. Been up in Moscow, Maine, but this one here that we're going to talk about, the family, they had a farmhouse in Palmyra, Maine. As it starts out, the reason they moved to Palmyra is because they wanted to downsize. The husband evidently had some sort of an accident at work, hurt his back. The wife needed to get work instead, and I guess he was collecting. And long story short, they wanted to get a cheaper residence to live at. They found this wonderful farmhouse in Palmyra, and it had lots of property. The only downfall of it's isolated, and the front of the house area was like 250 feet of just flat lands, and it ended in a dark, dense forest, which they could see from their porch. And they had a wraparound porch on this house. Really nice house. Now, it started out as a 4-family moving in, but the son moved out, but he was still close to where they are. So it was the daughter, husband, and wife. they're moving in on move-in day, and the wife sees the husband bringing his guns in, and she just freaks out. She's like, no, no, no. And she's like, you can't have any guns in the house. And he lost that argument. But, it's like, God, we're isolated. We need something in the house for protection. You might have bear, you may have coyote out there. He lost it. He put it in the garage, in a cabinet, locked. And the garage is also locked. So anyway, long story short, they're at this house for about a month. And every night after dinner, the husband and wife had this really nice habit of sitting on their front porch, drinking coffee, talking about the day, just being laid back. They could see, over the land in front of them, and they can see the dense forest. One night, they saw a light out in the forest, and it was really odd because they owned all that land out there. I mean, that was a big selling point for them, this beautiful house, all this land. They even own, part of the dense forest area. So it just so happened that their son, he was like in his early 20s. He was visiting that night, sleeping over. So the dad went in and got the son. They got some flashlights, and he figured maybe it was poachers. And I mean, that could be a dangerous thing. If they're firing on deer and it's firing towards the house, they didn't really want that. So he and the son walked out there, and they got into the forest, and they saw the light again. And they're walking towards the light, and they're feeling like they're being stalked. And then the light just disappears. And then they hear some noises, and they're like, geez, we're unarmed. We don't have anything out here but our flashlights. Let's get back to the house. Maybe whoever these people who are out here, they're gone. So they went back to the house, and nothing else happened that night. About a month later, the daughter's boyfriend was visiting, and the daughter and the boyfriend decided to go out into the wood area, take a walk. So they took their 2 dogs with them. Partway through their walk, she lets the dogs off the leash, and the dogs go running around, frolicking and playing and everything. And then she doesn't hear the dogs too much. And they keep walking, and she starts calling them, and she could hear them barking. So they finally meet up with the dogs. They find the dogs near a mound, this big mound of dirt. And I mean, from what I understand from the reports that I've read on that, the mound was about a good 3 3/4 feet high. And there was a hole in the mound. So the dogs are barking at this mound with the hole in it. And as the daughter and the boyfriend approach, they hear growling coming from inside this hole. And they decide, wait a minute, enough's enough. Let's get out of here. That could be a big bear or something. They hook up the dogs, and they walk back to the house. When they went back to the house, they told the parents what had happened. And they said, gee, we heard some stuff about a month or so ago, but, nothing else happened since. So 2 more months go by. The husband and wife are again on their front porch drinking coffee, when all of a sudden, all wildlife sounds just stop. I mean, totally stop. And a feeling of, I want to put it the way that they wrote it, the feeling of dread came over the husband. The wife, she always had a flashlight with her when they were outside. She picks up her flashlight and she shines it out into the darkness. The husband really does feel threatened. She's standing up and he's standing up trying to pull her into the house saying, it just doesn't feel right out here. And she's shining the flashlight out there, and they see 5 wolf-like creatures standing about 80 to 90 feet away from them. Now, if you go outside and really measure off 80 or 90 feet, that's not really that far, to be honest with you. The creatures are looking at this light, and they charge the couple. The couple run into the house, lock all the doors. They're going around. I guess they were pretty well coordinated at this point because they were running around the whole house and locked everything. The windows they put down, everything. The wife went upstairs, and she saw her daughter up there. Now the son wasn't home at this point, She saw the daughter upstairs and says, listen, just keep your lights off. You know, something's going on outside, and we're trying to secure the house. Now, remember, there's no guns in the house. And the husband is like, oh, my God, you know, why? I've got 5 creatures out there, and there's no guns in the house. So the wife peeks out the second floor window, and there's a curtain there. She just pushes it back slightly, peeks out, and she looks out the window, and one of the creatures looks right at her and stands up on 2 legs. Now, from the reports that I've read on this, she's saying that it looked to be 8 feet tall.
Hope she was wearing her brown pants.
Probably not that night, because that really shook them. After a little while, the creatures walk away, and the husband's formulating a plan. He's going, we got to get out of here. You know, he's saying, my truck is right outside. If I can get to that truck, it would be great. I'll back it up to the door, and we can just run into the truck, the 3 of us, and get out of here. So, long story short, he's looking out. He doesn't see any of these creatures. I guess they went back into the wooded area. And he goes out to his truck. And here's one time where technology doesn't save you. He's walking to his truck, and the motion sensors went on, caught him, and threw the lights on him. So he's lit up. I mean, this poor guy drops his keys. He grabs the keys, and he sees the creatures running towards him. He runs back to the house. He locks himself back in. They start putting furniture in front of the doors and the windows and everything. At this point, now here's a really funny part. They call the police. So here, the phones work, right? The police officer says, it's probably a bear. And the wife says, I told you there was 5 creatures out here. It's not a bear. They look like they're coordinated. They're circling the house. And, you know, the one thing you don't tell the police is, you know, it's a cryptid, because they're going to think you're a nut or it's a crank call. And especially up in Maine, they must get hundreds of these calls a day or per week anyway. And, long story short, the police never arrive. And that's the funny thing to me, is being a former cop, I'm going to at least send a patrol there and do a drive-by and, you know, give the people a call and say, hey, we're out here. We don't see anything. But from what all the reports that I've read on this, and I've read about 7 different reports on it, every one of them says the police never showed up. So, long story short, they're moving around there trying to block, you know, all the windows and everything, and the creatures come back. And at this point, it looks like they are working together, and they're really coordinated. They actually jump up onto the second floor landing, the roof line, and start walking around it. The husband can hear them scratching at the doors and everything, and at the house. Sounds like they're trying to dig into the house. So what they do is they stay back from the windows, and there's a light curtain, so the creatures can't see in while they're walking the roof line, but they could see the shadows of the creatures because they're backlit by the moon. So they're just hoping that they can last till the sun comes up. Okay, long story short, the sun comes out, the creatures are gone. They go outside tentatively, and they're looking at the house, and there are scratch marks all over the house. They pack up stuff and put it in their truck, and they get out of there. They sell the place. And what the report from the researcher who actually got to speak to the lady of the house, the wife, she just gets across that they were, the 2 that she did see stand up were about 8 feet tall. Now, generally dogmen go about 7 to 7.5, 7.5 feet tall. So she was in the range there. But the thing she kept saying, and the reports all say the same thing, the creatures seemed to be working together. They would surround the house. A couple of them would stay on the ground. A few of them jumped onto the rooftop. And what kind of gets me is, I don't see why one of them just didn't try to smash into the side of the house or into
a
the
window.
door. Yeah, or smack a window.
Right.
Maybe they did paw a window and it felt solid. Maybe they're not smart enough to know they could break through a door easily. Because I know for a fact, I have a friend of mine that lives in Maine, and he had a brand new house, one of them deadlock bolts on the top and a regular lock, and he wasn't home. And one day, a black bear came up and just smacked the front door, and the front door just caved right in. And how he knows this is he had a nanny cam in the living room, and it was facing the front door, and he saw what happened. I mean, this bear came in there, and so a door, unless it's reinforced with like the old days in the forts and in the castles where they'll put bars across. I mean, that door is going to just, if it's not a reinforced door, it's going to just go for a bear. Now, for a dog man, in my estimation, I would think if they wanted to get in, they could have bashed a window like you said, DA, or like I said, just hit the door.
Ellen Harrington had a question. She says, do you think that the creatures felt threatened and had to protect their territory because their den was discovered? And did any previous owners have an encounter with these creatures?
That's the funny thing now. Two police reports that were taken previous to 2005 by previous owners. Now, you would think the police would say, gee, different families, they're calling up. Here's the third family. They had called, and they all moved out. The two families before that, the police did take a report. So I kind of think the dogman just didn't want anybody in there. That's my idea. But going back a little bit to the original reason why the husband and the son went into the forest in that first month that they were there, remember they saw a light? Now, in my experience and in the research that I've done on dogmen and on Sasquatch, 92% of the people reported seeing a light before or after, or before and after having an encounter with the dogman or the Sasquatch. Now, these people here are reporting that they saw light. So I don't know, DA. I mean, I've been spouting this UFO possible alien connection, for a while now, and I don't know. It's just, I wish I could have been there at the time to really investigate this, while it was still fresh.
Yeah.
It seems strange to me. I kind of think they were just defending their territory. She's right. Maybe they did feel threatened and they wanted, they wanted everybody to move out. And they sold that house quick.
Yeah. Derek Buckles says, were there any pictures of the damage to the house?
Let's see. Yes, there are pictures.
I'd love to find some of those and have those on here.
You know what I'll do is I'll get it for you and I'll send it to you, DA. You can put it on your region too.
Okay.
Just to show that, because they definitely had damage to the house.
And we had another question as well. It was also from Derek Buckles. It says, are dogmen like vampires in the classical sense? Do they have to be invited in or a door to be unlocked?
No, not at all. Not at all. All the research I've done, I mean, they've gone where they wanted to go. I mean, look at the original story of LBL. They went right into that mobile home that they had. Well, I don't want to call it a mobile home. It was actually a trailer type thing that they tracked behind a car.
Leon, I sent you a link to this story. What's your reaction to it?
I think it's pretty damn scary for a start. The lights at the beginning, it's something that I don't come across over here in England. I've never had any reports of any lights before any sighting. But the actual part of going down there into the woods, I'm beginning to. I think they felt a bit threatened, to be honest, especially with the guy sticking his head in their den. Mm-hmm. They obviously came out and had a look what was going on. But in some of the reports, it mentions about the creature not liking lights as well. The actual security lights coming on, they're staying clear from them. That's quite interesting. That's it has like a bit of the old-fashioned vampire type kind of thing, not with it being too bright, but it's a fascinating case, and that if we could get those pictures to have a look at those, that would be really good. That would be awesome. That.
I'll tell you, a lot of the reports I've read is that dogmen and Sasquatch, they don't like dogs. They do not like canines.
I've read that. I've seen that many times.
Yeah.
Northwoods Cryptid, never to be left out, says if my ex ever faced a dog man, I'd feel sorry for the dog man. And then Tanya Willis says,
When you guys were talking about how go ahead.
go ahead, Steve. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just thinking about how, this may have been a relatively old, flimsy farmhouse. Depending on who lived there before and what experiences they had with these dog creatures, maybe they had the house, blessed or cleansed or, in some way, some kind of, white magic, Native American magic or something. That would be sufficient to keep the dogman out of the house.
Somebody here, let's see, Tanya Willis, she has a question there.
She said, what was the body type of the creature noted other than the height and wolf-like head?
Type 3 variant 1, if you know what that looks like. A type 3 variant 1. I'm trying to see. I have a very poor picture here.
I got one up, Nick.
Oh, there you go. Top left. Beautiful. Type 3 variant 1.
Mark Napier says, didn't they just stand in the driveway and stare at the house at one point?
They were closer than the driveway. I think there was a, oh God, I want to say a stone area around the house that they were standing in. So they got pretty close, and they also jumped onto the porch area because that's where the scratches are. I'll have to get those pictures for you, and DA will put them up on the Region 2 NADP site. So scratch marks were there. So yeah, they were nice and close to the house, and they did jump up on the roof. I guess they didn't want to. I guess they were trying to draw them out. Although I couldn't see why somebody would want to come out at that point unless I was fully armed.
With a group of them like that, about getting up on the landing of the house and stuff, it reminds me of some of the elements of the siege of Lockett Ranch.
Oh God, but that went on for a long time.
For over a year.
Yeah. I mean, they were on the roof. They tried to dig their way in. Those were highly aggressive dogmen.
Tanya Willis says, I'll wager she let him keep the guns in the house while moving forward.
After that, hell yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
Gonna be getting me some 10 millis and 457s, giving some 44 mags, all that good stuff.
I'm pretty fortunate. My wife's as good a shot as I am, so I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah,
Oh.
I'm just wondering about the lack of the police response, because like Nick was saying earlier on, obviously other owners had sent in reports and they were dismissed. I mean, that's kind of what we call a clue or a trend, And
Yeah.
the fact they didn't address that or took it lightly and didn't give it any thought to it is that's kind of scary, because I taught all the Maine game wardens in use of force and in medical stuff, medical training about 6 years ago. And I was up there for about 3 weeks and talking to some of the guys up in the very far north, like up around Millinocket. They said they've seen all sorts of weird stuff. They really didn't go into detail, but they said they've seen definitely was not what run of the mill critters, that they deal with on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
So kind
You know what
of
it probably was, Doc? They probably sent cars out previously, with the
Found
other
nothing.
owners over the years. They didn't
Yeah.
find anything, and they're saying, "Oh, poo-poo." But I'm sorry, I'm former law enforcement myself from years ago, and we always went, no matter what, even if the
Yeah,
person was
right.
a Looney Tune.
You always check just to make sure, even if it's just a well-being check.
just
Exactly.
in case. Yeah.
Christian Arredondo says, what would be the best defense against dogman? I've heard people have shot them with little to no effect. I personally will be putting dragon's breath rounds in my shotgun. Might not kill it, but nothing enjoys getting set on fire.
That's the truth. I would say bear spray, number one. If your sidearm, Glock 10 millimeter or 44 mag, I prefer to 10 milli because you got more rounds, and 200 grain bullets in there, and nothing less than a 308 rifle round with 200 grain bullets. I think that would do it, because if it's going to take down a bear, it'll sure as heck take down one of them things, or at least put a hurting on them.
I would agree. Jaron Kaiser says, if you as a human was going to recon a house, then you wouldn't just try to walk in the front door. Dogmen are very intelligent, and with that comes caution. I agree.
Yeah.
I definitely agree. Northwoods Cryptid says the Dogman reports from this area have had some scratching or biting around doors and windows. Yeah, if I woke up and found that on the window and around the door frame of my house, I would definitely be loading up the buckshot.
Yeah.
Werewolf 5674 says, I don't do Facebook. Could you put the pictures in Discord, DA? Absolutely. Be more than happy to. Got another question. Derek Buckle says, as part of an investigation, was there a FOIA request for the reports leaked to that address? You know, that I have not thought of that, Nick. Will you think that would be something you could do? Put in a Freedom of Information Act
I could
request?
probably, yeah, we could probably do that. I don't think anybody's actually done that. We've been, we talked to a couple of police. See, I was there in late 2019, just before COVID really slammed us. And, you know, we did speak to, I went up to Moscow, Maine. I went to Palmyra. I went to Palmyra on another report that I had received on 4 campers who had quite a scare. And talked to some of the police officers over there. And the 4 cops that I talked to mentioned Bigfoot more than Dogman, period. You know, anything sort of like that.
Well, that's some pretty woolly territory.
Yeah.
Tanya Willis says, even if the location was too far out in the country for the local officers, they could have at least contacted Fish and Wildlife to check, couldn't they? Ignoring it just seems irresponsible. Now, I can't speak for that particular area, but I know some of the areas around here in my area, when you're talking about county sheriff's departments, some of these smaller counties like Stone County or Taney County, overnight there might be one officer on duty for the entire county.
True.
It happens up in Dallas County. It's happened in Laclede County. You know, you might have one officer patrolling, 100 square miles or more. So that might have just been something like that. They just didn't have the presence. If Nick can file an FOIA with that, we might be able to find out more, but it would definitely be something worth looking into.
I got to tell you though, when I was in Moscow, Maine, it is so desolate up there. It's just not funny, people. I mean, I don't know if any of your people that are tuning in with us right now have ever been to Maine, but when they call Moscow, Maine, they do it for a reason. It's damn close to Russia. You know, I mean, it's way up there.
Really cold.
And Palmyra is like desolate. You will not see another house if you're on one of those farmhouses out there. You know, I mean, people think of Maine as this little tiny place, but it's really not. I mean, it's
a big state. All right, folks, if you guys are enjoying the show, please hit that like and subscribe button. Hit the bell for notifications so you'll be alerted when we go live, and share the video with your friends. That does help the channel grow, and we sure appreciate it. We had a question from Lexington 73300. Says, why does it seem like dogmen are more evil, if that's the right term, than Bigfoot? You know, one of the things that seems to apply to pretty much every dogman account I've read is people always describe their appearance, their eyes especially, as either demonic or hellish. I think dogmen are just straight up predators. Where Bigfoot might only be a predator part-time or only when it's hungry. I think dogmen are just straight up killers.
Now remember, while there's 7 variants of Dogman, there's also about 8 or 9 different variants of Sasquatch, Bigfoot. Now the Gugway Bigfoot, the face eaters, I mean, they are some mean suckers. Luckily they're mostly up in northern Maine or up in Canada mostly. In the Algonquin First People up in Canada, they talk about them a lot. And I mean, they're just, they're pretty nasty and mean, but luckily we don't have a lot of that down here.
Northwood Scripted says, DA, why not just use a flamethrower instead of Dragon's Breath rounds? Well, the Dragon's Breath are a little more controlled, and I don't want to set a forest fire.
Plus, you have to have that little pack on the back, you know.
No
and you're
kidding.
carrying it.
Ellen Harrington says, "Do you think law enforcement was afraid to go?" God, I hope not.
No.
I hate to hear that. I know my last department I worked for was a small town, and I tended to work the overnight shifts because no one else wanted to. And from midnight to 6 or 7 a.m., my nearest backup was probably 30 minutes away, which doesn't sound like that much, but when something goes wrong, 30 minutes is an eternity.
Yeah.
Tanya Willis says that sounds dangerous for the officers. It is. It very much is.
Well, the problem is up there, they really don't have the finances to have a 50-man force.
Mm-hmm.
You know, each town is just so small. I mean, what are they going to do?
Yeah.
The people are already hit with taxes enough as it is.
Well, the town where I worked, there was only 5 of us on the entire department.
Wow.
Ellen Harrington says,
Yeah.
I inherited a house in Maine that's been in the family for 5 generations, surrounded by woods on the side of a mountain. That's awesome. I would love to have a place like that. I don't think my wife would live with me, but I would still love to have a place like that.
We can
And Tony Willis says, I've only very rarely read or heard of a peaceful dogman encounter. I haven't heard of any. I mean, every time they describe it as a feeling of being hunted or chased.
Well, there's just something about them. I mean, early last year, I went up with a team into upstate New York I think I've told you about this already, DA, to investigate a dogman that had hopped a 12-foot tall brick wall that surrounded the entire house. This is a very rich area, upstate New York, western section, and everybody in that area has fences around their house. And what happened to this one man is that he had a Belgian Malinois, and it was fully trained. It was the family dog, a male. He weighed about 79 pounds. It was missing the next morning. His neighbor called him up 2 blocks down. They went to see the dog, and the dog had its throat ripped out and its stomach ripped. And you tell me, what got over a 12-foot wall, grabbed the dog, killed it, subdued it, whatever, popped back over, and did whatever it had to do. Now, I understand a mountain lion can jump 14 feet, but not carrying a dog, not carrying something that just killed. So that's what we saw when we went there. The claw marks that were on that wall. So I mean, right there, that's a bad encounter, a really bad encounter.
Going over a 12-foot wall, really, to be honest, doesn't seem that far-fetched to me, as I have a friend who has had a 10-foot wooden privacy fence, and he had a blue heeler, and that little dog, only 60-pound dog, 50-pound dog, would go out the back door, build up a head of steam heading to the back of the yard, and just boom, right over that fence. He used to get out all the time.
Well, I don't know. All I know is that a mountain lion would not be able to do it, from my study of zoology. I mean, they can, from a standing jump, they can jump 14 feet straight up into a tree. But I don't think carrying something close to 80 pounds.
Belgian Malinois.
Yeah.
Ellen Harrington says there's a very chilling encounter that was shared on Sasquatch Chronicles. A guy was sitting in his car, and dogmen walked up to the side of the vehicle, sniffed all around the vehicle, and moved on. I've heard stories like that before. In fact, I just saw one not too long ago. I believe it was on one of the Discovery Channel shows, where 2 girls sitting in a Jeep waiting for their boyfriends to come out of the house. A creature walked up and was like trying the door handles and sniffing all around the car. And when their boyfriends came out, it hightailed it. But I don't know why it ran from them. I think maybe it was afraid they were armed.
I don't know. And, I would figure it would try to break the glass or something, or try to, swat at the person to try to get to them. Just like this Palmyra incident here. It boggles my mind why it wouldn't just try to break down a door or a window or go through it.
It does seem like if they wanted in, they could have gotten in.
Yeah.
Oh, exactly.
George Jennings says, my people from the Iroquois talk about dogman a lot. George, I would love to hear some of that from the Iroquois. If you can reach out to me at daroberts@daroberts.net. Maybe we can set up a chat where you can tell me some of those stories. I would love to hear them. Let's see. I think we had another one. Lexington 73-300 says, I've heard a few stories of nonviolent encounters, all of which involved parent juveniles. That's possible. The juveniles might have been more afraid of the humans than an adult would have been. And Northwich Cryptid says, I bet the guy in that car needed a change of clothes after that encounter. I just hope he was wearing his brown pants.
Hey,
Leon,
remember that.
how does this Palmyra story stack up against some of the ones you've had in your area? Because I know that we have a good with the missing 411 series and things like that. We have a working theory that some of these creatures may be taking the occasional human, especially in national parks. And if there are homeless people that are living in homeless camps, nobody's going to report them missing.
No, they're not, are they? I'm quite sure there's a report coming out of Wales about a dogman-like creature having a sniff around a vehicle in a car park. Not in the middle of town, but on the outskirts of town, having a good sniff around this vehicle. Then it disappeared. The couple was in the vehicle at the time doing what couples do in parked cars. But yeah, it scared the bejesus out of them.
They were filling the meter.
Yeah.
Yes,
They were doing a Bible study. Bible study. That's what they were
Bible
doing.
study.
Bible study.
Killed the
Yeah,
move,
they were doing,
I'll try and find
Yeah.
the account and I'll send it to you. Going on the people going missing and that over here, very little said about it. But going back to the Palmyra one, the description that they give in that story is very similar to one that I have over here, which I've called the Three College Boys sighting, and they say that this animal that they saw had the features of a baboon, and it was on all fours at one point and had got on two legs, which is when you look at the variant pictures, it comes across as an ape-like looking face on it. But yeah, these things are all over the place. But I keep
You said
Like yourselves.
ape-like looking face.
yeah
So like the type 3 variant
the
one.
type, yeah. But what they were saying in that report. But I keep going back to like Nick was saying, what stopped them from getting in that house, in that building? And like Steve said, you don't know what kind of, let's say, protection it has. I know people roll their eyes at things like that, but the world's a strange place, and
I wouldn't rule
if it's
anything
gonna
out
help you in
completely.
one way,
Yeah.
you would you would do it, wouldn't you? If someone says, "Oh, we could help you in one way or another," and it blesses your house or does something, especially with things like that running around, you're going to put your thumbs up and say, "Yeah, let's do it."
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, yeah. I mean, if I was in a situation with, let's say I was one of the previous owners of this house, and I didn't have the option of getting out of it right away, and I had to, to way through it. I'm pretty well set in my faith and my beliefs, but if it would protect me from an 8-foot damn dog trying to get into my house, any religion is up for grabs. I mean, I would reach out to anything and everything, and I'd be calling in, yeah.
Like Benny on the Mummy, pulling
Yes,
up all the
that's
different
That's what I was
bringing
just
like
thinking about.
All different ones. Yeah.
Seriously, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
I've got people. Sorry, go on.
It's good. I'd be praying to Odin and pixies and crows and anything that could protect me from those things.
I don't believe that, Steve, for 1 minute. I think you would tinkle on them. Right, DA?
Well, I'll be tinkling on myself, but
He definitely marked some territory.
yeah. Yeah, the nice stream between me and my 4-wheel drive.
Marslion, 1969 says, born and raised in Michigan, transplanted to South Carolina. Any sightings or activity at all in South Carolina? I don't know of any dogman sightings in South Carolina, but I've heard quite a few Bigfoot sightings. Nick,
It
what
is
about
a-
you? That's closer to your stomping grounds than mine.
It is a Bigfoot area. You're correct. There have been some reports. That's Region 5. I'd have to get in contact with them in Region 5 and check that out. But yes, I'm going to say definitely yes in South Carolina. I do have some reports someplace, but since it's not my area, I didn't really pay too much attention to it. But once again, I can give it to DA to post it up there in Region 2. I'll look it up for you.
Yeah, give me the links and I'll post them in the
Yeah.
Region 2 as well as the Discord.
That'll be good.
You said you had another encounter similar to Palmyra in Maine?
Yes. Back in 2019, I was contacted by a young lady who went camping with three of her friends, three guys, and this friend group from college. They always went camping together at different places. Now, since I was in Moscow, Maine anyway, at the time, I decided to go and speak to this young lady. Now, I believe that one of the guys did speak to a 14 investigator, and they did have this written up someplace. I really don't know where, but all I know is I went and I spoke to this young lady face to face, and her encounter with this is, I mean, she didn't even want to talk about it. It took her all this time, but she came across the NADP and she was following my group for a while, and she contacted me. So while I was up there, I spoke to her face to face now. How the story goes is that the four friends that always like to go camping in different places now, they heard about the Palmyra Woods, and they went and they picked up some new tents and, cooking gear and everything. And they were all excited about this. They parked about 2 miles away from the area, the original area where they were going to go in, and they went into the wooded area, and they actually saw bear droppings and heard a bear growl. So they went back out to the truck that they took there, and they went to another section. Now this section was darker, but it was so pleasant during the daytime that they decided, hey, this is where we're going to camp. There's a little stream, we have the woods over here, we can see the sky at night and everything. So it's like 4:30, they pitch kit in the tents, they make their supper, they have a good supper and everything. And since they went to two different places and they were walking around for hours, they kind of all decided to turn in a little bit early. They built the fire up, but they turned in a little early, and there's four tents over there. It's about 2:30 a.m. in the morning, and this young lady who I'm speaking to, she heard a noise, and it just bothered her so much that she got out of her tent, and she's listening, and she's hearing a low growl coming from back in the wooded area, and she's not hearing, being a person that likes to go out camping, she's not hearing any sort of wildlife sound at all. And she went to wake up one of the guys. She wakes him up, and he's telling her, oh, no, you're probably just all sleepy. You're just seeing things. And they hear this growl, and he goes, well, wait a minute. He had I believe a machete, and he grabs a flashlight, and the two of them go out, and they're looking around, and they see 4 sets of eyes. And they start backing up when they see these 4 sets of eyes back in the woods. And suddenly there's this loud, piercing scream let out. The other 2 people that are sleeping, the other 2 guys, were up. They got their flashlights out, and they hear growls and more screams, loud screams. I mean, screams like they've never heard before. They just hightailed. They left everything they had, hightailed it over to the truck. And at this point, they're glad they didn't go to that first place, because the truck would have been a couple miles away. At this point, the truck was right there. They got in, they drove into town, and they got a hotel room. They stayed overnight and then went back to the place. I figured, all right, sunny day and everything. Hopefully nothing's out here anymore. And she's telling me that when they got back to their camping grounds, everything was torn apart. They had these freezer things, igloos, They were torn apart. The tents torn apart. They saw all kinds of footprints in the area.
What kind of footprints?
And
Yeah.
well, that's just it. It looked like bear prints to them, but it was wider spread. The prints were wider spread than normal.
Wish,
And it was
wish
like
they had pictures.
3 toes. Well, what they wanted to do is they just bust up their stuff, clean up everything. They didn't want the forest rangers to, get peed at them for leaving their stuff out there. They put everything into the back of the pickup truck. They got out of there and they never went back to that area. Now she's telling me that one of the guys spoke to somebody, a 14 investigator, and he has it written up someplace, and they might have some pictures with that because the one fellow had a camera phone. Now, mind you, this was in 2018, so definitely they had camera phones back then, and I believe they did take some photos of that. I haven't found any. And she never sent me any. She just wanted to tell me about it because she heard that, I was coming up to Moscow, Maine to check the area out over there. And that investigation didn't find us anything but mountain lion tracks. And by the way, mountain lion tracks are pretty big. I'm going to tell you, pretty big. And their scat is pretty nasty too. But when we went up there, I found no dog man and no evidence of Bigfoot up there. But that was about it for me. But speaking to her was a highlight. I'm glad it wasn't a wasted trip.
Mark Napier asked how many toes.
On the prints that they found, it was 4. It was just 4.
Leon, I wanted to ask you. I know, we've discussed the Missing 411 series here in the United States. I'm sure you've probably caught some of the videos. How we have disappearances in national parks. I've never been to England. Do you have national parks like our national park system over there?
Yes and no. There's areas of ground that are put aside so nothing can be built on them.
The Queen's Forest, so to speak.
Well, yes, there's things like that. But yeah, there isn't really national. Every bit of land in England is owned by some bloody one. And you can't go on it, you can't do anything on it. There's loads of rules. Anywhere in England, Wales, you cannot do wild camping or anything. Scotland, that's a different kettle of fish. You have the right to roam in Scotland. You can go anywhere else in Scotland and camp. But in England, there is parks, but they're not parks like you have over there in the States. There's no one really going around looking after them all the time. There's no like rangers and things like that.
I was just wondering if there might be missing persons in those areas.
The missing person thing, yeah. Well, not so much missing persons. A lot of people. Not a lot, but there's quite a fair reports of people dying in there, and it's always put down to a lot of it. Unfortunately, they say it's suicide. But listening to some of the bodies and the things they found, there's a lot of similarities to the 411 things found in water and face down and face up and things like that. That really, I think, needs a lot more looking into. But it's a lot more guarded over here with things like that. I don't know. It's very strange to put a finger on it with information coming out. Like in my where we are in England, everybody who walks out and walks on the moors, goes in the woods, does wild camping, everybody knows that we've got wildcats out here. But the government and everyone the people who are in the power won't admit that they're there. They never say yeah and give it a nod, but they're definitely there. The amount of people who have seen wildcats, like pumas and mountain lions and things like that, it's umpteen people, especially with COVID, and a lot of people through COVID, a lot of people was going out walking and hiking. There were more people out in the wilds than ever before, and within that 18-month type period, the reports of wildcats went through the roof. You could every time you put your computer on, bang, there was something coming up. Joe Blogs has seen this, that, and the other. And most of that stuff is seen in what you would call the parks, National Trust areas. I think it's National Trust. They're known as National Trust. Yeah, it is. But going back to that with the missing people, they won't even admit that there's wildcats out here. Anything slightly strange with a person going missing, they're not even going to admit that. It's just not going to happen. They're far too guarded. It's just.
What about like in the London Underground and the old tube stations? Is there anybody go missing down there?
Well, they more than likely will. It'll be a lot of homeless people down there, in and around. They, as far as the establishment's concerned, if they go missing, it's good for them. It's less to look at. It's a horrible thing to say, but
I agree.
The homeless thing over here, as long as nobody sees it, nobody really gives a toss. It's not
Sad to say, it's kind of how it is over here as well.
Yeah. Now, Leon, I've got a question for you, man. When I was up in Scotland, I was talking to a buddy of mine that lives in Edinburgh, and he said that now the Cairngorms, he said there a lot of people go missing there every year. And is that attributed to anything like that, or have y'all captured any kind of tracks or anything from the Dogman sightings out there? So, two-part question.
To tell you the truth, if I would answer both of them, I would just be pulling it out there. I don't really know a lot about it. People do go missing, yeah, but like putting it down to why they went missing, I couldn't answer that really fairly.
Okay. Yeah, so health and safety is definitely not putting any kind of memos out to watch out for anything like that out there, right?
No. So as soon as they admit that these strange creatures are out there, like I said, even just wildcats, the shit would hit the fan, and you'd never hear the end of it, because they've been knocking around since the end of the Dangerous Animal Act that came out in 1976. Before then, you could go down to your pet shop and buy a panther or anything. Once they brought that act out and made it so you had to have a special license, and you had to have a cage, and you had to have all these different things, a lot of people let them go, just release them into the wild, and that's the theory that we're all saying this is where they all came from.
Yeah. What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, if the powers that be admitted that, God, everyone will be saying, right, where's my gun? We want our guns back now.
Yeah,
we're not going walking everywhere. You'd never hear
Well,
exactly.
see, that's the thick of it right there. You've got folks who have been very okay with not, or overall okay with not having their guns. You start telling them all these exotic, dangerous animals are around, they might want them back.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's
more people. They reckon there's more people killed by cows in England than any other animal.
Jonathan Rossignol says, anyone know where I could buy a cougar? Well, if you're in your 20s, just hang out at any given bar.
There's a load lining up there, honey.
You were mentioning, Leon, that the government and the local law enforcement, attributes all these mysterious disappearances to suicides. I think that's kind of universal with, at least in the Western world, with law enforcement. And this is not a ding on Nick or DA or any of my other LEO friends. But I know a few years ago in Springfield, we had a situation where a gentleman was found in a dumpster, shot in the back of the head. And after a lengthy 3-day investigation, the local PD ruled it a suicide. And I remember at the time I was sitting there with a prop gun going, yeah, that's how I do it. Okay.
Yeah.
So Yeah.
Come on, you know
Never
you
did
got
hear
Alec
the end of
Baldwin
the
that thing.
One of those good old-fashioned Clinton suicides, isn't it?
Ooh.
Yeah.
You know, he watches
Oh.
the show. He watches this show.
Yeah, I'm sure he does. He doesn't give a toss about this show.
Leon, just a little teeny bit off topic. Since most of the places over there in England are privately owned and they don't let people on, do you ever come across any detectorists? People with metal detectors searching around areas.
Oh yeah, quite a lot.
I heard that was a big thing there.
It is. There's a good friend of mine. He does really well with metal detecting. But everywhere you go, you've got to go and ask. You've got to find out who owns that land and ask permission.
Yeah.
But with the UK being such a small island, apparently per square mile and the amount of treasure that's found in the ground, there's nowhere else like it in the world. Because we've been ransacked and taken over by all different clans and everything from all over the years. There's stuff buried in the ground all over the place, going right back from when the locals were invaded by the Romans. Everyone cacked themselves and dug holes and hid all the gold and everything else, and then you had the Vikings coming over, and then you've got the Normans coming over, and there's loads of stuff buried out there. But
Oh, sure.
many a time you'll drive down the road and you'll see a guy walking through a field giving it all this slot there. What is he doing there? And you realise it's metal detected. There's loads of stuff, loads of it. But
Derek Buckle
you
says,
would
I
need
heard in
mega
a recent
permission.
article stating recent large cat sightings in the UK. What are the possible long-term issues of mixing different feline genetics of lion, tiger, jaguar, etc.? You anytime you hybridize, you run the risk of getting a super predator. I mean, look at the liger. It is massive.
God, that thing is big.
It's way bigger than either of its parents. So, it might be like when I call it a Tygon, when they breed a male lion to a female tiger. It actually comes out smaller than the parents, but the other way around, a male tiger and a female lion, it's freaking huge. Just weird how genetics go together. And I'd say they're all close enough in genetics where they could probably interbreed and we'd find something entirely new.
Yeah.
But then again, hybrids are usually born sterile. Look at the mule.
Right. Now, hey, Nick,
tigers and tigers, oh my.
Nick, I got a question for you, man. From the Palmyra sighting and maybe even some others you've been on, has anybody picked up any kind of tracks, any kind of casts or anything like that to kind of correlate all this that's going on?
In that area, I'm going to say no, because of the fact that by the time it got to us, it's, a year goes by and wind, rain, snow, and all that stuff. I mean, Maine isn't exactly a stationary state. It's hit by heavy weather.
Yeah,
now,
it's not
young lady.
Different.
This happened to the young lady that contacted me. That was 2018. She contacts me a year later, and finally I do get up there. But that's
so none of the people who are reporting those incidents have taken pictures of tracks or anything like that.
I believe one of the guys that she was camping with there did take his phone out and took pictures of the tracks.
Okay.
And,
some of the best track footage I've seen, and castings actually, were captured by Jody Cook from the NADP.
Oh yeah, he has some quite.
This is a casting that he's taken. Mm-hmm. Notice the slightly elongated heel.
Right.
And then you've got fresh ones in the mud.
Wow.
Those are good sized tracks.
Yeah, they are. Holy crap.
And those aren't bear tracks because if you'll notice if you look up grizzly bear or black bear tracks, the middle toe seems to be the longest. These look to be the same all the way across, and you can definitely see where the claws were in.
Yeah.
So this is canine. It's a definite canine print. But if you're looking at a canine print that's almost 8 inches long, that's a big dog, a huge dog. I've had mastiffs and their prints were nowhere near that big.
Yeah, that's a big boy for sure.
That's a big old rascal. And these are the ones that NADP casted.
Wow. Where were those, DA?
I believe those were in Ohio in a sighting, in an event that happened in Ohio.
Okay.
I'd have to get with Jody to find for sure exactly where they were taken, but I'm like 98% sure it was in Ohio.
Wow, that's big tracks.
Most likely, because that's his stomping grounds.
Those are very big tracks.
They are. Oof.
Although I wouldn't rule out the possibility that he might have gotten some of those in LBL, because Jody's been there a lot of times as well.
Yeah.
Well, folks, we just hit the top of the hour. I want to take a moment and play a word from our sponsor here at DAX Machina. We have a brand new word from our sponsor, and I hope you guys will like it, and that is Dark Angel Medical, and I'll give you the discount code that they have given us for our viewers right after this is over. So let me take a quick break for our sponsors.
Hey everybody, this is Terry Pocket Doc Davis from Dark Angel Medical, and you are listening to DAX Machina with DA Roberts. You may recognize me or some of my products from Dark Angel Medical in some of the Apex Predator, Lakeview Man, and Wild Hunt books, and you can get those products at www.darkangelmedical.com, along with training classes on how to use those products and save a life. Shoot us an email at info@darkangelmedical.com and be the difference.
And if you guys head over by darkangelmedical.com, check out the medical kits. I carried one of their kits throughout the bulk of my law enforcement career, and there's no better kit you can carry. It's just peace of mind to have a medical kit, especially in the uncertain times we live in. But if you go to darkangelmedical.com and use discount code CRYPTID25, you get 25% off your purchase. And if in the instructions you say you want the Team Odin patch, you can get the Team Odin patch, you'll recognize from my books, right on the spear kit. So make sure you guys go by Dark Angel, show them a little love, and tell them me and Pocket Doc sent you.
Best kits in the business.
That's right. Kit for life guarantee.
Kit for life. There you go. Kit for life. If you use your kit to save somebody's life, you just let us know, get us some documentation, and you send everything back to us that you didn't use, and we will repack it, inspect it, reseal it, and send it out to you with all the stuff that you did use. Free of charge.
Northwood Scripted sounds like those tracks might possibly be a dire wolf track. Well, I have a theory about Dogman possibly being descended from dire wolves, but that's a lengthy story in and of itself. We'll get in another time. If you've seen some of the previous shows, I've talked about it at length, so I won't jump on that tonight. Nick, you got any other encounters from Maine, or should we broaden our horizons to other areas?
Oh, you can broaden them then, because that's about it. Besides the call I got up there to go up to Moscow, Maine. I mean, we did get to go through the old United States radar areas over there. It was like miles long. They must have had missile silos up there too, because they had those buried in. We found a bunch of round areas, but didn't find anything up there. And besides being able to speak one-on-one, face to face with somebody and see the, I'll be honest with you, see the terror in this young lady's eyes. It was like, it was horrible. She really didn't she wanted to help people. That's why she wanted to tell us about it. But that's about
having
it.
a sighting like that leaves its mark on people. It really does.
She doesn't go camping anymore, I'll tell you that much.
I know a lot of deer hunter guys who were lifetime deer hunters that had an encounter with either a dogman or a Bigfoot, and they won't they've given up hunting entirely. They won't go back in the woods, which is kind of terrifying. I mean, it affects them that much, shakes them up to the core so bad they give up something they've done their entire life. Leon, I know you're working on a new encounter video. You posted something about that just a couple of days ago, and we kind of chatted briefly on it. But could you tell us a little bit about the one you're working on, and definitely we want to plug your YouTube channel.
Yeah, well, we was up there yesterday and a couple of days ago as well. We're on the slopes of Winter Hill over in the northwest of England, where I am here. There's lots of things going on over there at the moment. Every other week there's reports coming out to different people who are into this genre. But yeah, I'd been told about an animal that had been seen on logs And the person who told me about it says that it was windfall logs. They'd seen a large dog-looking animal climbing over these logs, bounding over them. When we turned up there the other day, there's a massive area of woodland it just looks like a huge storm's been through and just flattened the whole I would say an area probably about the size of a football pitch. It's huge, and it's that hard to get in there because it's a proper leg breaking session. We had a look at it from one side, and like I said, it was not far from going dark over it at the moment, and it's dark. It starts going dark about 4 o'clock. We were there just before 4. We managed to get up there. I took a little bit of film, nothing great. We need to get in there really and have a look where this animal was seen. But it's the actual woodland. What we was in is the same woodland in my video where I caught the audio when I was camping out that time, that strange guttural noise that I got on audio. That is the same woodland, and the area that's been flattened is probably within 1/4 mile from where we were. I couldn't see any tracks as in plant track where they've pushed trees over. I don't know if it's wind that's done it or if it is forestry commission that's done it all. It needs a lot more time on it to get in there. It's probably going to need another overnight camp there as well. But we ended up on the moors that runs right on the side of this woodland as well. We had a good look round there. But there's a lot more to do on that case yet. Loads. Trying to get the guy on film as well to speak to us. Might be a chance of him coming on. It might just be filmed the back of his head while he's pointing and talking and things. But yeah, I don't want to say too much about it. I've said far too much as it is now. But it's. I'm hoping it's gonna. It's gonna be. I hope it's gonna do the job, and it's gonna give us a lot more information. That's
I'm looking
all
forward to
I
watching the
really
video.
want to say about that.
Absolutely.
Nick, we had a question for you from Derek Buckles. He says, how active is the Moscow, Maine area for all cryptids?
I am getting more, even though we're the Dogman project, I'm getting more people calling these days on Sasquatch sightings, and I have to give them off to a couple of the Sasquatch groups up there. The Northeast right now is a hotbed. I was just talking with Jody Cook last week, and we were discussing sightings and everything, encounters. I had just myself come back a few weeks ago from the Pocono area in Pennsylvania, where I got 4 reports, and I couldn't ignore it. So the northeastern section of the United States is really a hotbed right now. Not so much for dogmen up in Maine right now at this time, though. You know, it's Bigfoot up there.
Lanita Bryant asks, can anyone tell me why crows are present alongside cryptids? I've noticed that. Well, it's been my experience that crows down through the centuries have been associated with not only battlefields, but with carrion in general. And they have an interesting relationship between crows and wolves. The packs seem to work. A pack of wolves will work with crows, over on kills quite a bit. Crows also make great warning systems. They're very intelligent. They're smart birds, and I would say that any big predator that's going to leave scraps behind, they're going to clean it up. At least that's my thoughts on it.
Yeah.
Well, that and I mean, let's be honest, they're assholes. You know, I've heard many a hunter who've had their game scared off by a crow, sounding the alarm that they were in the area.
Yeah.
And they're kind of territorial.
Well, if you're out there hunting and you've got crows in your area, just make sure you take some bread. You feed them and they'll leave you alone. Mondoc 40 in research says if it was in central Montana, the tracks could have been the Shunkawarekin. Yeah, I've heard a lot about that, but that seems to be more related closely to the black dog story. It's more of an omen, less of a dog man, but they very well could explain the tracks if it had been in Montana. Let's see. I think there was another question. I'm missing it. There we go. Creepers, Cryptid, and Paranormal Corner says I have two that always hang around and guess what the days I've had encounters in the bush. I haven't seen them leaving my house before it. Huh.
Yeah. They're like you said, they're kind of like an omen, you know. They kind of harbingers of doom, as it were. Oh, did we lose Nick?
I think we lost Nick.
Oh,
He said he lost picture.
Yep, there I am.
there he is.
There we go.
All right. There he is.
Sorry, I had to sneeze. Didn't want to do it on the air. Let's see. Johnny Half says Pennsylvania is awesome, but Michigan, upper and lower, is probably the most underrated state around. Now, I want to go up to Michigan and Wisconsin areas. I want to look in the Beast of Bray Road, the Michigan Dogman. I want to get up there and film in some of those areas up there. Hopefully, I'll be able to do that very soon.
Yeah, hit Bray
I just
Road.
want to go up to Mackinac.
Yeah. Well, you know, DA, I teach up there like several times a year up in northern Michigan, and so I've talked to those guys up there actually after our last show on Wednesday, and they said they've definitely had some weird activity out there, and that could be something. You know, you come there and at the same time I'm doing a class, we could tack on a few days.
Heck yeah!
Something, yeah.
If you got some contacts and they'd like to share some stories, I'd love to hear them.
Yeah, we'll do. I'll reach out to them and ask them if they'd be willing to bump in and talk to us.
That would be awesome. Thank you, man.
Yeah, no worries, brother. No worries.
It seems to me that dogman sightings and encounters are on the rise, and that may be the advent of social media making it easier to report the sightings, or maybe that we've actually reached a point where people are feeling more comfortable coming forward with their stories.
I think that's
I think people are starting to get more comfortable with it. I recently had a comment on my author page on my blog because I wrote a blog entry about my experience in LBL, and someone responded to the article and said that they had lived in and around the area their entire life and they'd never had an encounter. And my response to them was, people that deer hunt and go in their entire lives and never have a Bigfoot encounter, but that doesn't invalidate everybody's accounts. Just because you haven't seen it doesn't mean it ain't out there. I've never seen an elephant in the wild, but I know they exist.
Well, it's like the coverage we had last week. You know, I grew up in the woods of Missouri my entire life. You know, I was in scouts and everything else. I've never seen a black bear. I know they're all over the place. You know, I've never seen the body of one, but you know, I know they're there.
Northwoods Cryptid says, DA and Doc, anytime you get to this part of Michigan, I'll show you guys around the area. That would be awesome, dude.
Absolutely.
Creepers, Cryptid, and Paranormal Corner says, I've never believed in them and never heard of them being in Australia. Now I've had 3 encounters. Hey, if you would like to come on the show and talk about it, you know, hit me up. I would definitely like to hear your encounters. I'll put my email address up. You can contact me at daroberts@daroberts.net. Or if you want to reach out to Naoma, you can reach her at naomafinn@gmail.com. We would love to hear your encounters and maybe even have you on the show, which would be really awesome to have somebody from Australia on.
Yeah, I've been in touch with John. That's Creepers Cryptids from Australia. How you doing, John? And yeah, he's had some encounters out there, and he's just starting out. He has his own little show too.
Anthony says, DA, are the Team Wild Hunt patches out for sale yet? We are still working on that, man. Hopefully we can have those up soon.
Trying hard.
Johnny Half says Beast of Bray Road is just across the Illinois-Wisconsin border. It's about 70 miles north as the crow flies. That's an area I definitely want to go check out. Hey, Nick, if I send him the link I sent you, if he wants to pop in, he is more than welcome. Christian Arredondo says dogmen have been encountered in South Texas. The ground is full of sharp rocks and plants have sharp thorns. Wonder how their feet don't get damaged. Probably like any other dog. I mean, their pads adapt to the area where they're at. They get thicker callus on them, and they may still get thorns and things like that. But you know, it probably, if it's got hands at all, it's probably not too terribly hard to pull one out. Let's see. Creeper says, Nick, we'll have to show you my pics. That would be awesome.
I sent him the link. John,
Okay.
if you want to just click on that link there. I know you're not just across the pond like Leon is, but maybe we can connect with you.
Christian Arredondo says, have you all seen the video of the werewolf of San Benito, Texas? I have not. If you could send me the link to that, that would be awesome. Derek Buckles had a question. His for Leon. He said, did Leon give his background for being involved in cryptids?
Yeah, but easiest thing to do is look for the link for my YouTube channel and check that out. I'll give you everything you need to know, really.
He's got a lot of great content on his channel, guys. So, give it a like and subscribe. Check it out. Watch some of the videos. Watch all of the videos. There's some really great videos there. I think we lost Doc for a minute. Hopefully he'll be right back.
No, Leon, I always love watching your videos because I love the voiceover you do. You're so calm and you've got that understated British humor about what's going on. Like you'd be showing this footage and I would be completely terrified, and you're just being so calm and explanatory about it as you're looking at some of the stuff, and it's like I will watch it all day long.
Yeah, I really love making them. I put a lot of effort into doing them, and I like to see them grow and everything. But yeah, they're really good. They're good. It's like my tonic, really, going out there and making them. But just going back before when you were saying about seeing creatures in the woods, and you said there's elephants that exist, but you've never seen one. When me and Sean was out just the other day, I'm trying to think don't know how many miles we did in the woods and up on the moors, and we saw one deer, and there's millions of the bloody things in England, and we only saw one. And nearly everybody goes walking out, never sees one, but they're all about. So there's a lot of large-sized creatures knocking around in woodlands that you're never going to see.
Can you imagine Leon out there with a camera crew and they're filming and 5 dog men come out of the forest area? And Leon very calmly is narrating to the camera, I have a little spot of tea while we film the dog men over here.
No, more like Leon would be double fisting the energy drinks. Anthony says, Leon, where do dogmen come from and background on their being?
Oh God, that's a good one, isn't it?
They go back. Origin
Forever.
Stories of the dogmen go back to antiquity. I mean, let's see. Christopher Columbus and Marco Polo both reported seeing dog-headed creatures on their travels. The conditions known as cynocephaly. The ancient Egyptians talked about it. There are mention of animal-headed people in the Bible. Nobody knows for sure what the actual origin is, but the sightings go back centuries.
Yeah, the Romans, they loads of stuff going on with them. Where does it come from? Well, I think it's just from year dot, isn't it? Looking at Egyptian things, how far back that goes. You could go on forever arguing that. The age of the pyramids, people keep saying they're a lot older than they are, and that the Egyptian history goes. I think that goes back to year dot. To be honest, I think there's a lot more to that than anything. And, these creatures have always been knocking around, and wherever people move around the world, they bring those encounters and stories and beliefs with them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's nothing like humans for moving around, and it comes along with them wherever they go. So it's the idea of Dogman and werewolf have been around since we could probably speak. And that's all what I'd say about it.
I know in the LBL area, sightings of dog-headed creatures dates back to the 1600s when the French trappers were going through that area. Native American lore goes back even farther, so it's hard to say what the origin point is for these creatures because they've been reported throughout antiquity.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
same thing with the Algonquin and Seneca tribes up in New York with the fur trappers back in the day.
Yeah, I had someone long ago online, and they were trying to say, all the Dogman sightings and things that are in the Americas, that was just brought over by the Europeans when they got there, which is a complete load of bunkum. When you mention the Native Americans, they've been way before the Europeans got over there. They was drawing pictures and leaving clues to what was knocking around in the woods and on the plains. So to try and tell this guy that he's on another planet saying things like that, but it was like talking to a brick wall. you know, and I know that the Native Americans have known about this since they could walk.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. From their earliest oral traditions date back, talking about creatures like that. In fact, some of the Native Americans, like up in Alaska, their oral traditions still talk about hunting mammoth, and that couldn't be that old for them to be saying, "Hey, my great grandfather hunted a woolly mammoth."
Yeah.
Well, and DA, have they not even uncovered some petroglyphs with some dog-like figures on them?
Yeah, there have been any number of petroglyphs that have been found featuring creatures that are very much like Bigfoot or Dogman, and even in some cases aliens, which makes us wonder how long this planet's been visited.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Tanya Willis has a good point. She says Norse mythology includes a fair library of probable cryptids, supes, draugr, dwarves, elves, giants, Fossagrimmen, Hulda. Exactly. I mean, every mythology has their own origin stories and talk about these creatures. Like I said, going back to ancient Egypt, which is believed to be one of the oldest recorded civilizations, maybe even far older than we realize, because they keep carbon dating things and finding out they're far older than we thought.
Yeah.
Definitely goes back too much to just write off as a bunch of Western myths being passed around. There's too many people with the same stories that are too old and have no contact with each other.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, there are Native American tribes that had no contact with each other whatsoever, that describe the same type of creatures. I mean, every tribe in North America has got a name for what they call Sasquatch, and they're all different.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's like my brothers are huge skeptics on certain things, and they're like, "Well, I've never seen one." I was like, "Well, you believe in Jesus?" And they're like, "Well, yeah." So have you ever seen him? And so it's kind of along the same lines. These things have been around for like DA was saying, back whenever fire was invented and wheels were turned round, so it's been going on for a long time.
Very much so. And and some of the stories don't depict friendly encounters. I mean, with Bigfoot alone, there's talking about them being, some tribes talk about them being cannibals. They carry off people, which falls right into line with the missing 411 stories. I mean, that very well could be, certain cryptids preying on people. I'm not saying 100% that's what it is, but of all the people that go missing in national parks, David Paulides only picks the ones that are that bizarre, where something weird is going on with it. He's not even touching the ones where they found them, they've been mauled by a bear, or they found their body at the bottom of a waterfall, or they come wandering back into camp 4 hours later going, man, I was lost for a while. They don't even count those. It's not even counting those stories. He's only counting the ones where they've disappeared under very specific mysterious circumstances. So the missing 411 cases, I believe a good chunk of those are something very intelligent preying on people.
Well, and look at all the animal attacks that the reports you looked at, DA, and then all of a sudden they're gone. I mean, there's definitely a correlation there.
Yeah. Well, there's a number of animal attacks just in the LBL area that were dismissed as wild dogs. Well, how many freaking wild dog packs you got running around that area? There's been a bunch of people that were killed by wild dogs, including like an 80-year-old lady that walked the same trail every evening to stay in shape. She was attacked by wild dogs, in an area that she knew very well. And
white animal control out.
Yeah, exactly. And unless Kentucky and Tennessee are just riddled with packs of wild dogs, I don't see how how so many people are getting mauled to death by dogs. And I know these areas are full of people that hunt. And I guarantee you, if I lived out somewhere where there was a pack of wild dogs killing stock, we'd be out there with the predator calls blasting some dogs.
Yep, absolutely.
Be laying out there with a 308 dropping them. I mean, back when I was in
Yeah.
high school, I made good money because there was a bounty on coyotes because they were killing stock.
Yeah.
See,
same
I'm
here
more
on our
concerned
farm.
about the people that are getting killed by packs of toxic algae.
Yeah,
'cause,
that one in California.
That's been happening too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mark Napier says he was chased out of the woods once by wild dogs. I'm not saying they're not out there, but not in the numbers that they're reporting in Kentucky and Tennessee. I mean, there are dozens of cases of people that were mauled by dogs that I don't know. I just don't buy it. Not all of it. I'm sure some of them are.
I mean, yeah, we had a pack
Well,
of we had a pack of wild dogs out by our house in Mississippi. Had's the operative word, and then some good old boys got out there with their deer rifles, and because they were getting in everybody's chicken houses, and so that took care of that.
Yeah. Well, and DA made a very good point. I mean, you're talking Kentucky and Tennessee here. There's that's probably one of the regions of the country that has the highest per capita firearm ownership in the country. I don't know too many hillbillies that would let packs of wild dogs persist.
No,
Right.
no.
Right. Well, it's a threat to their wildlife. Well, it's a threat to their livestock more than anything.
Well, their
and
livestock,
their
and if there's subsistence, if there's subsistence hunting, hunting deer or whatever else, that's competition.
Right.
If it's
Absolutely.
going to keep me from putting venison on the table, the dogs are going to go.
Yeah. It's food on the table.
Yeah. Shoot, you get desperate enough,
Hey.
the dogs themselves will be food on the table.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, depending on how desperate you are. I mean, there's
Yeah.
a lot of animals you can run through before you get the long pig status.
Mm.
Yeah, whatever you do, don't eat dog liver. Apparently, it kills us.
Really? That's good to know.
Yeah.
I don't like liver in general, so I think I'm pretty
Good.
safe.
I think I'll shy away from that entirely.
I'm pretty sure I would eat the neighbor's cat before I'd eat the neighbor, though.
Yeah.
At times it'd have to be getting pretty lean.
Absolutely.
The neighbor's cat's probably less carcinogenic than the neighbor.
Quite possibly, depending on the neighbor.
Yeah. I'm not gonna. Yeah. Hey, it's an hour and a half, and we stayed on topic. How about that?
Holy crap!
Yeah, there you go.
That may be for the
Oof.
record books right there.
I'll
we
take
haven't,
Well,
that.
and I think we're all
have
mostly
it-
sober too.
We haven't veered off onto wild topics and and talking about food.
I was waiting for us to start talking about food now. Yeah.
It's inevitable at some point where somebody's going to go, you know what? I had a food at this place the other day.
Especially when you start talking about liver. Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Nope, not,
Yeah, I'm
not,
not a liver fan.
not about it. My
Oh.
dad used to. I mean, he used to eat everything. When they were kids, he was a Great Depression kid, and he said, when they killed a pig, they ate everything but the oink. And so it was.
Yeah, I remember when we raised
grew-
hogs when I was a kid. My grandparents made blood sausage. You talk about nasty. Ugh.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's called
You've
block
never had-
pudding over here.
never had any good proper
Yeah.
pudding. Then I've had some good stuff over in Scotland. It's fantastic.
Yeah, but you
Oh,
will
yeah.
never forget the smell of them rendering that down. Oh,
Oh no.
True.
Werewolf
True.
5674 says when Stalin was starving his people, parents started eating their children. Hunger drives behavior. Very true.
Dear God, that's horrible.
Oh,
God,
yeah.
That's some Wendigo behavior right there, man.
really? Turn them right into it.
Carrie,
Guys ever eat
we'll
chicken?
talk about talk about rendering that blood sausage. I keep thinking about the smell of a GI bleed.
Oh, sweet baby Jesus.
I was like, oh.
Man, I took a new paramedic with me on a run one time, and we went into a house, and I was like, as soon as we got to the front door, I was like, oh, GI bleed. He's like, is that what that smell is? I was like, yeah, you'll never forget it. It's just like burning flesh.
Never
Gonna
forget
forget it.
Never
Ever.
forget it.
Ever. And Buzzer
Yep.
Drew said something about Boudin. Boudin is, I like to call Boudin affectionately redneck haggis. Good stuff. Good stuff. Really good.
Derek Buckle said, question, DA, when will your trip to LBL take place? We're looking at that going down there in March. So hopefully I'll get a date firmed up before too terribly long. But yeah, we're thinking March, April, that timeline when things are starting to warm up, because they say spring is the best time for sightings.
Okay,
Spring
so
in the
it's
fall.
March, April, DA?
Sometime late March, probably.
Okay. All right. I got it in my calendar.
Yeah, make sure he's got stuck up in some kits. Either that or he's gonna be dogman shit.
Yeah. Hey, Dogman won't like me. I'm too chewy. A lot of gristle.
See, I'm pretty safe. They wouldn't attack me because I'm kind of cirrhotic. So
That's a question for all of us. Pork and Bean says the scariest Dogman account you guys have heard of besides LBL. Nick, do you want to start?
Let's see. New York State, all the way up top. Jesus, I'm trying to get the town. The last one that I was at, which was just several months ago, it's pretty scary. Actually, no, it's not a Dogman account. It's turned into a Sasquatch. That's the one where we found out that it was actually a 15-foot Squatch. This lady who lived in the Highlands, New York, I can actually give the town to you. She said that her house is being attacked by dogmen, and I was speaking to her on the phone for several days. Finally, Jody Cook called me up one night, and he says, listen, you got to get it there because she keeps calling me up in every half hour. And we did get a team out there, and we looked around, and it was not dogmen. The destruction could have only been done by Sasquatch. She had poles taken out of the ground, like 4x out of the ground. They were buried 42 inches. Whatever was there was really mad at her because she was gifting it originally. She was gifting, there was a cut down tree, 3 feet of the stump was still above the ground. She was putting apples there every day. She went to take care of her parents for 4 days, didn't give any food, any gifts. And I guess they got pissed at her and ripped apart her garbage area. And that's where the 4x4s
Wow.
were buried.
I don't put food out ever.
Yeah.
Never do that. It's the
Same.
wrong thing. But we were there at 1:30 in the morning looking around her property, and we had a very large, about a 10-inch log, about 7 feet long, thrown in our direction. Tommy tripped over it, one of my guys, and injured his knee. We stabilized the knee, put a splint on it, and we got him out of there. And I mean, it was just pitch dark. He couldn't see anything over there.
Damn, brother.
And it turned out that the pictures that she showed us, the eye shine was 15 feet off the ground. I found the tree that she showed us the pictures. It had no branches. So nobody's going to tell me that that was an owl or a cat sitting on a branch up there 15 feet up. So if it was a Sasquatch and it was 15 feet tall, I don't want to be there without, anything less than 50 cal firepower. That was pretty damn scary, guys. That was pretty damn scary. But it wasn't Dogman, so I can't give you that one.
Leon, what about you? What's your most scary story you heard?
Well, one of there's a guy called D. Crompton going back to 2019, which was in Edgerton Quarry in Bolton, which is very close to where I was just the other day. And he was in this quarry with his air rifle, doing some target practice. And I've just got some notes here. And he says, this is pretty freaky. He says he was looking round the floor of the quarry to use something as a target to shoot at. Some strange looking stones, twigs and things like that. And he noticed a black shiny stone. Got his rifle up to his shoulder, looked through the scope, and he could see the stone. And behind the stone, he says it looked like a goatskin rug that was breathing. Couldn't quite work out what it was. I'll just read from these notes. Breathing on its own. Then suddenly, two large eyes were looking straight at him. He said they were the colour of milky off yellow, and a bit like when you see a dog that's old and going blind. So this rock that was a shiny rock ended up being the nose of the animal itself. And then the eyes opened.
Better not shoot it with an arrow rifle.
Oh well, there we go. He started. He said it seemed to like stand up. Sorry, it didn't stand up. It seemed to get up, but he said its back end stood up, come up first, and its chin was like glued to the ground, still looking at him as it got up. And then he didn't quite know what he was doing. He took a shot at it. It was just pure, what the hell's this, and squeezed the trigger. Did absolutely nothing to it whatsoever. It was just a 2.2 air rifle. Then it walked backwards to the edge of this quarry wall, and he says as its backside touched this quarry wall, it like just gave him a look, turned to one side and scurried up this wall. This wall was like a good 25-30 feet tall, straight up it, like a cat would do, and disappeared. Wow. But he was eyeballing this thing through his scope, and he says it looked like a massive Great Dane. A Great Dane looked about 2 feet bigger all around.
Wow.
But
that's a big dog.
That's a huge dog.
Yeah, it proper cacked him up. But yeah, his little air rifle did nothing whatsoever to it. But
so literal hound of the Baskervilles kind of creature.
Yeah, there's more in depth into it. On my channel, there's a video on there going on. There's a couple on there actually, in that quarry, talking about that place and that encounter. We actually went there. Me and my son went there and found the actual place where the guy took the shot at it, where he found it, and the place he climbed up the wall. That's all on film. And we actually found some prints as well, some huge, big canine prints that were as big as your fist, had a size
Jesus
9 in England. I think it's a 10 over there. And these footprints, as you can see on film, they're as big as the top of my boot. They're huge. But Jesus. Yeah, that's probably the scariest encounter I've got, to the fact that this guy was through his scope. It was like eye to eye. He was like right on top of it.
That would be
for
pretty
him,
terrifying.
it just buggered off. It just disappeared up this
Well, I
wall.
mean, he's lucky he didn't just piss him off with that air rifle and became a Scooby snack. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
That's like walking up to like a wolf or a tiger and flicking it in the beanbag.
yeah,
I know.
exactly, exactly. You might as well just throw.
But he was just on
fat
another
kid a
planet. He
Pez.
just squeezed the trigger and boom, it went.
Holy
Yeah,
That could have been a
I-
bad day
I was
right there.
thinking-
Yeah.
Yeah, thinking exactly the same thing. I flicked to the sack. It's about all I did.
man!
Yeah,
Well,
Josh, thanks for joining us, brother.
Hey,
John?
no worries.
yeah.
John, appreciate you jumping in, sir. You're coming in from Australia?
Yeah, mate, can you hear me all right? Or?
Yeah, hear you just fine.
There,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, John.
Yes, sweet.
howdy, John.
There you go.
And we're really
There you go,
globetrotting on this.
That's right.
Damn.
There we are.
John, we'd love to hear about
Now-
your Dogman encounters.
Yeah, I had a couple. The first one, actually, I didn't know it was a dog man because I didn't believe that they were even real. Like, I used to see stuff on the internet and have a laugh at it and stuff like that. And I had one encounter, and even after it, I still didn't know what it was. And then a couple of days later in the same area, I had an encounter. I actually got photos of it and seen that it was a dog man. And that's when it sort of opened everything up to me in the world. You know what I mean? Like,
What about your next encounter?
yeah, well, like the first one, I was in a kayak and I went to a spot I hadn't been to before and got in there and thought it was all good. And on the way to this spot where it happened, I seen something. It was real weird, and I haven't told many people about it. I seen like a grey flash out the side of my eye, and I thought I was just seeing stuff. And within like 5 minutes of seeing that, I was fishing in this one little spot. I'd caught a fish and I was bringing it in, and on the opposite side of the river, something actually just started smashing through the bush, running at me, and I could hear it was running on 2 feet, and it was actually smashing like everything that was in its way. It was just sounded like a bulldozer the way it was through everything, and it stopped at the side of me and started to roar, and the roar that I heard, like, it made all the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. I could feel it in my chest, and I'd never heard anything like it in my life. And it went on for probably 2 or 3 minutes while I took the hook out of the fish and chucked it away. And once I actually chucked the fish back in the water, the roar actually went 10 times louder. It was like it was angry because I'd chucked the fish away.
You probably wanted the fish.
Yeah.
Did
Anyway, so I've sort of. What's that?
What'd the roar sound like?
Oh, the only thing I can find on the internet that sounds anything like it was weird because there was 2 different sounds. One sounded like a male lion, and then I don't think it was a roar, but it was taking a big breath in, but how big its chest must have been when it was breathing in, you could actually hear it, and it actually sounded like another roar. It sounded sort of like a grizzly bear sort of thing, so it'd roar and then take the big breath in, but it was actually louder than its roar. And yeah, it's so hard to explain.
Wow.
Did you get
John,
a look
did
at
you
it?
get any sort of a scent from it? Did you smell anything?
Nah, not that day, but the thing that happened that scared me the most was when it had started going crazy after I chucked the fish away, I heard something in my head. Something said to me, "Go now, you're going to die." And it wasn't my thoughts. It wasn't like it. Yeah, I still can't explain that. And whenever I talk about it, it still does my head in, like, thinking about it. Like, whether it's because I've got Indigenous heritage in my family, whether I was picking up on the bush around, or maybe it was one of my ancestors or something coming through to say go, but whatever it was, something said to me, "Go now, you're going to die." And I listened. I turned around and paddled off. Like, I tried to act like I didn't know what was happening and just keep calm, but yeah.
Hmm.
You know, I wonder if, we all have that within ourselves as humans, just that innate instinct that we don't even know is conscious when confronted with an apex predator like that, just to your internal, like, will to live kind of takes
fight or
over.
flight.
Yeah, well, like, even beyond that, it's more of a primal. I'm gonna be food if I don't leave.
Well, John, I want to ask this question. You think it could have been mind speak? because Sasquatch has been known to do mind speak to humans. You think the dog man
Yeah.
could have been saying to you, "Get out of here. You're in my territory"?
And that's one of my friends said that to me. He goes, it wasn't the whatever it was talking to you, and I was like, I don't know, and I'd never heard that voice before, and I've been in other situations and never had that same voice in my head. Like, it's so hard to explain, and yeah, it was scary because I thought they were a joke. I didn't believe in them.
No, I bet anything it probably was doing mind speak with you and warning you to get out of here. And
Well,
Yeah.
something else I want to mention to you is that when you're in your kayak or canoe and you're paddling around out there, a dog man is an excellent swimmer. So if you see him
Yeah.
entering the water, get the heck out of there.
Yeah, well,
Well,
like
I
was
hear-
already worried because where I was, the river was that narrow. I reckon if I had a clear run at the bank, I reckon I could have jumped and landed in my kayak. And the way this creature ran through the bush at me, it could have done it easy if it wanted to.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Did you
Well,
did you
if this
actually
thing sounded-
did you actually oh sorry Steve, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, if this thing sounded anything like a male lion, I've heard a male African lion roar at our local zoo because it just felt like it, and it's terrified me. If it was roaring like that, every subconscious fiber in my being would be telling me to de-ass the area very, very quickly. I'm amazed you stuck around as long as you did.
Yeah, I tried to make out like I didn't know what was happening. I was just pretending like I was just getting the fish off and turning around and paddling off. I've had yowie encounters before over the years and sort of thought, oh yeah, I'm not going to freak out. I'm by myself. I'm not going to run for it because I've seen too many documentaries when the antelope does that and the lion takes them down. So
Yeah. You're only going to die tired.
Draw attention to
Yeah.
yourself as even more so as prey.
I'm going to die tired. That's a great
Yeah,
way to look at it.
True. Might as well
Yeah.
stay and fight. You better take a page out of
but back then I didn't.
John, take a page out
What's
of
that, Nick?
Crocodile Dundee's book. Get yourself a big blade and stand
Yeah, I
your
did.
ground.
I had to because before, like when that happened, I looked in my tackle box and all I had was a pair of long nose pliers, and I thought I'm gonna have to get too close if I've got to use these.
You could pull his teeth. That's about it.
I can see you
Yeah,
standing out there with your knife saying, "Now this is a knife."
Yeah, that's it.
That's when you need
But yeah, I didn't even.
the bounty.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
bounty is nice.
I
That
didn't
thing
even.
is razor sharp.
So
You said
I
you've
didn't
had
actually
yowie
know
encounters?
what the creature was. Yeah, I've had a couple over the years, and I actually got bluff charged one morning on a different river system. I jumped in real early, and I was setting all my gear up. And it was a couple of years ago. We had the big bushfires. They were all over the news in Sydney, or it was the worst bushfires we've had in years. And it got to about 5 k's of where I lived, and I was fishing. So I went out early one morning, and I got in the kayak, and I started setting all my gear up, and I rolled a smoke up, and as I went to light it, something massive smashed through the bush that was right next to me, and it stopped within probably a meter of me and my kayak, and I turned me light and couldn't see it. But the stuff that happened like later on, like while I was still paddling around, because I couldn't get out of the kayak and head for the car because this creature had actually come from the bush that I walked through to get like down from the car. So I was a sitting duck paddling around, hoping whatever it was wasn't going to jump in the water and get me. But I had a lot of weird stuff happen then too. But like even that, it was nothing compared to this roar that I got from the dog man. I've never been so scared in my life.
Well, I don't blame you. If I had a bluff charge, I think I would be pretty terrified as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't actually know it was a dog man. Like I said, like I've talked to my friends that I always talk to about yowie encounters and stuff like that, and I just put it down. I thought it was a yowie, but 3 days later, I actually went out fishing again. It wasn't in the exact same spot, but it was only about 5 kilometers away. And once I started to fish, it was probably 10 minutes into it, I heard something move in the bush. And after about half an hour of paddling down the river and sort of fishing, like I just thought it was a kangaroo or something, but I realized whatever it was actually following me in the bush. And every time I took a stroke with my paddle, it would actually take a step. So if I paddle 3 times, he'd take 3 steps and then stop. And every time I stop, there was nothing. You couldn't hear anything. And eventually, yeah, about half an hour down from where I was going, I seen something out the side of my eye in the bush, and I was like, "What's that?" And I took a couple of pictures and sort of paddled off. And after I did that, I never heard anything again. And I stopped a bit further down the river towards the town, and I looked at the photos, and right in the middle of the photo, you can see the dog man sticking its head out, looking at me from the bush.
You got a good look at it?
Wow.
Yeah, like I could see something in the bush, but I couldn't pick it. Like I couldn't work out what it was. And if I did, I reckon I would have freaked out and probably had a heart attack and died. So I'm glad I didn't.
Yes.
I couldn't recognize it with my eyes. Like I said, I didn't believe in them, so I didn't even pick up on it. And then when I seen the photos, like the half an hour paddle back to the car was probably the hardest thing I've ever had to do because I didn't even want to breathe. I was paddling that hard. I just wanted to get out of there.
Wow.
Yeah,
So he was totally pacing you then, right, John?
Yeah, he was
The whole
stalking.
time.
It was a stalk. The way it was,
Wow.
yeah, it was 100% a stalk.
Wow.
I'd have been paddling like I heard banjo music on an Arkansas river.
You damn right, brother.
Yeah, that's it.
Ruth.
Holy shit. That's amazing.
Ruth.
He must have had
Wow.
eyes on
And
him
where
as
I got
well.
the pictures, yeah, when I got the pictures, I actually thought, oh yeah, it's about 6 foot tall. Like I worked out by looking at the bank, and I went back with some of my friends, the guys that have been doing a documentary and that, and we actually got out and went into the bush there. And when you're in the bush where it was completely different. Like you couldn't tell that it was actually on a bit of a slant, and where its head was, I reckon it was over 10 foot tall, not 6 foot.
My God.
Oh,
That's a big
damn
animal.
dog.
You're growing
If
big
you can
down
see
there in
the-
Australia.
Yeah.
If you can see the image I just put up on the screen, could you tell us which one it looked most like?
Nah, probably the Canine Variant 3.
Ooh. Wow.
Oh,
That's a big boy.
Marshall.
Yeah, those are the big ones.
Oh,
That is
That's
a big one,
amazing.
John.
holy shit.
Yeah, and that's what I mean.
No,
I thought it was all a lie. I thought it was a joke and that. I'd never actually looked into them because I thought, oh yeah, it's just Hollywood making out another thing. Oh, werewolves are real, blah blah blah. But now I've seen this, and my dad brings me every week, still telling me that the photos I took still make the hairs on the back of his neck stand up.
Well, I would love to see the photos.
Yeah, I've got them on my YouTube, but Nick's got it. I've sent them through to Nick before, and he's put them on his Facebook page and that before, so he can send them through for you to have a look if you want.
Nick, if you've got those handy, send them over to me and I'll
Yeah.
post them up.
Okay. See if I can get them.
Yeah, it'd be cool. How far away was it from you, John? From your side, from where you were kayaking to the bank?
Probably about 50 meters at the most.
All right. So about 150 feet, roughly.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's not far at all.
Northwoods ain't
Nah.
wrong. The paddle's turned into an outboard motor.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah, I've worked with racehorses nearly my whole life too. Like, and I know what it's like. You take a horse. I always take the crazy horses into the bush, and it settles them down, and that. So I know what it's like for a big mammal to walk around in the bush. And this creature, it sounded like a big racehorse. Like the way when it was just walking, stalking me, you could still hear the weight in it. Like I wouldn't have been surprised if it was 300-400 kilos. And now I know that it's around 10 foot tall. Like that's a massive thing.
Yeah. I was gonna say around 800 pounds. Yeah. Yeah.
Damn.
That's a big
I've
boy.
got
No,
reports
and
of
that-
people mentioning it being like a horse, the sound a horse makes. One of my reports, a lady in a graveyard, she could hear this thing moving in the bush. And she worked as a kid. She grew up in stables, mucking out and that. And she said, it sounded like a heavy horse. It was that big. So yeah, that's a good analogy of it. It's come up before.
Yeah,
picturing
definitely.
the sound of a Clydesdale, you know.
Yeah.
those-
Did you ever
Good.
get a
Yeah,
chance to
Yeah,
go into that area and look for tracks?
no, we went in there and had a look. There was no track. I had my brother-in-law come too, and we got out in the bush, and he stayed in the water, and we sort of moved around to where it was, made sure it was 100% the same spot. And yeah, we worked out like it was over 10 foot tall to be able to have its head sticking out where it was, and there was no branches. We couldn't have stood on any branches in there, let alone something that big. Like, but that's all. Like, we seen other like little things in there, but there was no tracks or anything like that. And the worst of it is, like, where it is, it's only about 25 minutes from Darling Harbour in Sydney. Like, there's 100,000 houses around this spot, and that's why I come clean and told people about it. I wasn't worried about looking silly or anything like that. It was, I wanted to get it out so people knew about it and knew, hey, there's this creature living around hundreds of thousands of houses. If people go missing down the river, I know I'm going to tell people and say, hey, don't check the water like you always do. Someone hasn't drowned, they're probably been taken.
Yeah.
We've been getting a lot of stories like that here in the United States too, of them becoming more and more brazen, right? Just like being in town and around cities and stuff, just less and less further in the woods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, DA's even
And like-
talked about how they were going into dumpsters.
Mm-hmm. Well, those were Bigfoot stories, but yeah, they were coming in a couple of towns in Oklahoma and raiding dumpsters, and not like on the edge of town, like in town.
Yeah.
No
when
offense,
something
John,
that
but the
big
last
and that
thing.
sorry.
Sorry.
When something that
I'll
big and
send
that
you-
powerful loses its fear of man, we're in trouble.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
You know what it is, I reckon? I reckon it's the whole COVID thing. No one's going in the bush, and these creatures are going, hey, where are the people going? So they're coming closer. They know, like, we've been in lockdown. We were in lockdown for about 7 months. We weren't allowed to leave 5 Ks from our house, you know what I mean? Like, these things are going, how good's this? I can walk around the bush and no one's going to see me.
hadn't thought about
Anthony in
that.
the chat room said, John, do you carry a rifle with you when you're out?
Nah, mate, we're in Australia. You got to go through too many licenses to be able to get a gun, let alone be able to walk around with it, like going fishing and stuff like that. But
I hear you.
I'm thinking about getting a compound bow or something, or a crossbow or something. Something. I need something more than a little knife. But
Well, no offense at all, John, but the last thing Australia needs is one more creature that's trying to kill you.
Yeah.
You got
Yes.
scary enough stuff there as it is.
It's not
Ex-
drop bears,
Yeah.
it's drop dog man.
Exactly.
yeah, that's it.
Everything's
they-
made out of knives and
I'll,
it's trying to kill you.
I'll
They
take
can-
a screenshot of the map and try and send it through to Nick, and then he can sort of show you like how crazy all this stuff is, like around houses and stuff.
Really.
It's
So Australia's an amazing place. I mean, there's so
Sorry.
much zoology stuff that we know about that can kill you. Not to mention the cryptids John's coming across. But I mean, they've even put alligators. They've imported them and put them on the beaches to kill the sharks and keep the sharks away. But of course, you got alligators now on the beach. So
yeah.
what a fun place to go. I think I'm going to be going here next year when we go to train with the Australian SAS. We're going to go for a little run on the beach. We'll hook up with you, John.
Yeah,
We'll
you just have to come over and we'll go looking for it. That's because of the lockdowns and that. I hadn't been able to get over there because it's about a 30-minute drive from my house where this happened. So with the lockdowns for 8 months, I wasn't allowed to drive over there.
I remember several years ago I went to Augustine, Florida, and they have a place there called the Alligator Farm, and they have like every species that exists in the world, and they have a gigantic saltwater crocodile there that's 21 feet long, and the thing was from Australia, and I was like, that would figure. It's the scariest goddamn thing in this place, and it's from Australia. Okay, I get it.
It's a freaking dinosaur.
But yeah, they
we're lucky.
named the thing. They named it Bubba, and Bubba's head was the size of my dinner table, and I was like, oh my
no,
god!
Godzilla.
And they were feeding this thing entire turkeys, like a whole damn turkey. That was a bite, and I was like, oh my god!
without the trimmings too. Jeez.
Without the
John, I've
trimmings,
got those
yeah.
maps that you were talking about. I'll bring those up so you can talk about them.
Yeah, that's the first ones where I got the roar and stuff along the river there. Like you can see all the houses around. Like it's ridiculous, hey?
Well, there's also a lot of thick woods just near those houses, so not really that surprising that things would be coming that close.
Yeah. Yeah, well, all that other side of the river from the houses is actually army barracks and national park, so no one can go over there.
Yeah.
So you were down on that. Is it the Georges River?
Yeah.
Wow.
That is some pretty thick stuff down there. Right, like you said, though, right next to a very populated area.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
Well, you know,
Yeah,
LBL's like that.
Sure.
LBL is like this huge wilderness area just across the canal from the town. I mean, there's people that live all around LBL, and there are all kinds of stories that come from people that live in those towns.
John, any animal attacks down there that aren't explained animal attacks, like dogs or whatever, like they're talking about here?
No, I've tried looking for some, but all I can find was on the Australian Yowie website. There's actually accounts of Yowie sightings in that same area from like the 70s and the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
So whether these creatures have just moved in there now, because I've never seen any accounts of them in Australia before, or these people thought they were Yowies maybe back in the day, seeing them like maybe they were dogmen the whole time.
Misidentified, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about
or is
missing
it
person?
possible?
What's that? Sorry.
I was going to say, if it could be like here too,
Yowie,
where
it's
stories
a
are
Bigfoot,
getting.
isn't it?
Yeah, the Yowie is an Australian Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Sorry, Josh.
Yeah.
Josh,
Yeah,
what were you
Sorry,
saying?
Josh.
I was going to say it could be similar to here, where we have actually found stories, but they don't exist online for very long.
Yeah, they disappear
Yeah.
pretty fast.
We have pulled stories up and then went back and used the same search terms. Can't find them anymore. They're suppressed.
Yeah. That's probably why. Imagine what the people that aren't into the stuff like we are into getting told. Imagine if it was on the 6 o'clock news. Hey, guess what, guys? We found a werewolf down the bottom of your river. Like,
right.
Like,
yeah.
Is that the only way they
popping
could
sound
handle it? They wouldn't. What's that?
They said that popping sound would be everybody's paradigm shifting without a clutch.
Yeah.
Think about when Orson Welles did the War of the Worlds as a joke.
Oh God, yeah.
Mass
Terrifying
panic,
an entire
man.
country.
Mass panic.
And now
Yeah.
you start talking about, like werewolves and Bigfoot and UFOs and stuff. You start
Oh,
getting it
my.
out there in mass, in mass news. You thought recent riots were bad.
Guys, I think we're on the verge of a reveal. I mean, look how much the government has declassified of UFO cockpit footage, contacts with military. I mean, they're declassifying a lot of stuff, and it's not being put like front and center on the news. It's just like a byline at the back, like, oh yeah, by the way, this happened.
Well, that's how they're going to slow drip it to us, so we don't have that panic reveal.
Mhm.
Our brains have already, accumulated some of that knowledge a little bit at a time. So when it becomes more and more evident, we react to it better.
I
Yeah.
just recently read
That's
an
it.
article that NASA has been bringing in clergy from different religions
Yeah.
to talk to them on how to soften the blow when the
Yeah.
big drop comes.
Yeah. How are people going to
Interesting.
react to it? Because
Mhm.
how much data how much data photos have they erased when the feed goes blank from the ISS?
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
So-
I've seen that.
Yeah,
So
I
it's
think
when the
we're on
alien comes
verge
by-
of something big being revealed.
It's when the aliens come by to the ISS to borrow a cup of sugar, they got to blank the feed.
It's more
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
alien teenagers doing high-speed pass-bys because they think it's funny.
Alien burnout.
Well, you just have to look what it's like here in Australia at the moment. People are that scared of everything. I drive down the street and you pass a car and the guy's sitting in the car by himself. He's got a mask on, his windows up and everything. Like they're that terrified about everything to do with COVID. Imagine if they got turned around and told, oh, UFOs are real and there's a Yowie down the river and a dog man over there. People would lose their minds.
Yeah.
It'd be
90%
mass
of the
hysteria.
animals 90% of the animals in Australia are trying to kill you anyway. So I can't imagine that the big C strain wouldn't be any different.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Hey, John, where's your YouTube link that we could go? People could go. The viewers could go look at this and see it.
It's just Creepers, Cryptid, and Paranormal Corner.
Let me find that.
All right, cool.
We'll throw that in chat and a caption.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a video on there. I show all my photos. I got 3 photos that day, and I just talk about it and have it like I've got the original photo, and then a zoomed in one, and I've put a couple of filters on it because some people say I still can't see it. So I've put a couple of different coloured filters, like red filters, and that, so it sticks out a bit, just to sort of say, hey, what, really, you can't see that big dog in the middle of the picture, like.
Well, I just
think
liked
some
and
people-
subscribed the page and shared the link in the chat. So everybody, give your show a like and subscribe, show them a little love, so we can see more footage of things down in Australia, which I think is awesome. Can't wait to be watching some of these
Absolutely.
videos tonight.
I think a lot, because I've even seen it with some of the pictures that we've shown, and things to us that you can't not see. Like you look at it and you're like, oh, look, there's a thing right there. Other people look at it and be like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I think it has a lot to do with it's like almost like a mental block. They don't want to see what's there, and therefore it becomes pareidolia or just not there at all. Not even pattern recognition. They're so against that being a possibility that they refuse to see it. And I think that happens out when they're walking around too. I think people would more likely see Bigfoot or Dogman once you're slightly open to the experience a little bit more, because you're not looking for these things, and therefore they don't exist to you. They're just, in your case, it was there. Like you couldn't not hear the roar, so I don't know. I think that has a lot to do with too, people's own internal perceptions.
Yeah, a lot of head in the sand attitudes.
Yeah, well, I got a good explanation. One of my best mates, he's a tough bugger. Like he goes shooting, he goes pig hunting just with his dogs and his knife, does all that. And I showed him and he laughed and went, that's stupid, and looked away. I said, seriously, dude, I'm showing you got 2 little kids, you go camping all the time. Look at this, you just need to keep an eye out for it. And he said to me, Johnny, listen, I cannot look at it and I cannot believe it's true, because I won't ever let myself go back in the bush again.
100%.
Wow.
And that's why people aren't seeing these things in photos and in real life, because they shut it out.
It's like Marshall Sirota said, he was perfect.
Bingo.
It's called cognitive dissonance. People just don't want to see it.
Yeah.
I think there was a good representation of it in the movies. Again, not with cryptids, but of this cognitive dissonance. If you ever watched the movie Constantine with Keanu Reeves, when there's demons everywhere, but they don't start seeing them until they open their mind up to it, and then they're everywhere. It's very similar in that aspect, I think.
Well, like before I'd seen like the dog, got the photos and seen the dog man that time, I never noticed anything in the sky. And now I go out for a smoke at night and I see stuff all the time. And that many times I run inside or yell to the missus, tell her to bring the camera out, and I start recording. And you look at your camera and you can't see it on the camera, and you're actually looking at it in the sky and you're like, what the hell's going on? But I never even looked into the sky before this. But after that, I went, hang on a minute, if this thing's real, wonder what's up there. And like once you see one little thing, like the owies sort of opened me up a bit, but I never really got into it much because I had a few little encounters and stuff like that. But this thing's just changed my whole life. Like everywhere you go, you're like, oh, I wonder if there's one in here, or like.
It's when you open yourself up to look for things that you don't normally look for. I mean, perfect example of that is we just bought a new vehicle. It's a Nissan Rogue. It's not brand new, but before I ever owned one, I never saw one on the road, never paid attention. And now I see the damn things everywhere. I mean, I'll be going uptown, I'll see 5 of them, and I'd never even noticed them before. And it's just a weird example, I know, but it's just like that. I mean, once you start looking for things that aren't supposed to be there in the woods, you see them more. You see signs of passage. You see things that you didn't realize were there before because you didn't want to know they were there.
And even if you don't necessarily attribute it to a cryptid, you're now seeing more of your surroundings. Like, the military's trained to do that kind of thing, but the average citizen is not designed or conditioned to look beyond what's right in front of them. And so,
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
you know, when you start seeing these things, even if it's a bear or something else, there's people get attacked by wild animals and snakes all the time because they're not aware of their
watching for them.
surroundings.
It's like a copperhead. Unless you are actively looking for a copperhead,
Correct.
you'll step on one and never see it.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
you got two choices. You got two choices. You can either look at the evidence right in front of you and accept it, and then you'll see the truth of it, or like John's buddy, you know, he's like, I'm not even looking at it, you know. So you got two choices, two paths to go down, and I think a lot of people, the majority of people, you know, if I don't believe it or I don't accept it, and I'm not gonna see it because I don't believe in it.
Yeah, well, as humans, we're not used to looking up in the sky because there's nothing that comes from the sky that might want to eat us. So we don't pay attention to the sky. There's a lot of little critters that run around. They're always looking up at the sky, and when we start paying attention to the sky, that's when you start seeing things.
Well,
Right.
it's like
Like
the phenomenon known as uncanny valley. The study they started doing into the uncanny valley phenomenon, they discovered that people everywhere, from every continent, every ethnic group, every race of people, everywhere, all had the same psychological fear of things in the dark that look almost human. To me, that says at one point, universally as humans, we knew something that looked almost like us once hunted us in the dark.
Mhm.
We don't just get that fear out of nowhere. That's been
That's a genetic
ingrained.
fear that we
Yeah.
all have.
Well, I know going fishing because I used to do all my fishing. I'd start at say 3 a.m. and I'd fish till about 8 o'clock in the morning and get out because it was the best time to fish for the Australian bass. I don't know what the bass are like in America, but that's our best time in the mornings. And you'd be fishing along in the dark, and all of a sudden you'd go, someone's watching you. And you turn around with your headlamp and you'd spot a fox 50 meters off the bank in the bushes looking at you. I'm like, I shouldn't have known that was there. You know what I mean? Like, but you can just,
Those
when you're out in the
primitive
bush and
instincts.
that, you can pick up on that.
And when I used to fish all the time, hell, the best time to fish was just before the sun came up, sitting on the bank with a lantern. It just seemed like everything you wanted to catch kind of came to the light because they wanted to feed.
Werewolf says people walk with their heads down most of the time, and that's kind of what we were saying earlier. Just we focus on what's right in front of us.
No, most
And-
people walk around with their face buried in this.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a movie. I like comparing things to media because I think in some cases Hollywood does a good job of portraying the human mind in different stories. There was a movie on Netflix recently called Don't Look Up, and whether you watch it for the political satire or not, what's great about it is that people refuse to look up and see this comet that's going to destroy the Earth, because if they don't look up, it doesn't exist.
It's
Like-
not there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Right.
It was, and then finally
Yeah.
someone looks up and goes, "They fucking lied to us. It's right there."
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
kind of like the Douglas Adams novels, The Hitchhiker's Guide, The Ravenous Bug Bladder Beast of Trowel. If you wrap your towel around your face, the thing is so ravenous but not very bright, it thinks if you can't see it, it can't see you.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, it's like if you got little kids when they're young enough, they cover their eyes up and they think, oh, nobody can see me. You know, I've disappeared. I'm invisible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know with my family and that I've shown them my photos, and some of them go, "Wow, that's crazy," and then others go, "That's not real. That's just a rock." Blah blah blah. But guess what? I've seen a UFO. Well, we had a ghost in the house. I was like, "How can you say that that's not real?" But then ghosts or aliens or anything else, like,
Right.
it's just how the way people's minds are at the moment. Like, they're just one track, and if it doesn't, it's like even the government. If you're not going to hook onto the left or whatever and follow us, we don't care. Like, it's just people are just, it's like they're brain dead at the moment. Like, they're just not worrying about anything.
They don't want to know.
That's
Ignorance
the
is
problem.
bliss, unfortunately.
Bingo.
Mm-hmm.
Bingo. You hit the nail on the head, DA. They
Folks,
don't
if you're
wanna know
enjoying the
because
show
it would
and if
mess
you're
with their
new to the
beliefs.
show, if you guys are new to the show tonight, or if you're enjoying the show, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button and share the video with your friends, because it helps the channel grow, and we would really appreciate it. We help continue to get our name out there and kind of spread the word about the show, and help us bring more shows like this to y'all. So hopefully you guys are having a good time. So make sure you hit that like and subscribe and share.
I wanted to add just a quick little trailer onto the end of that. You may have be a part of other YouTube channels where you actually see next to subscribe, there's a button that says join. That will be coming soon to DA's channel, where you'll be able to actually be a monthly supporter and gain extra benefits beyond that. It'll make you stand out in chat. A lot of our regulars around here, I think, would be interested in something like that. So look forward to that. I'll drop a video when that becomes available. Don't everybody talk at once.
Sorry, I was answering somebody.
Left me hanging there out in space. I'm like, okay, someone pick up the baton.
Uncomfortable.
Well,
silence.
I was madly looking for John's YouTube channel, and
I put it in. I put it in once.
It.
Let me copy and paste it into the chat again.
Yeah, if you don't mind, because I missed it and I was scrolling through the chat trying to find it. So
I'm going to put that in.
You want to throw a caption up too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, caption might be difficult because of how long the YouTube does weird links.
Maybe Nick could send the photos over to DA and he can have a look at them that way. I know I've sent them to him on, I think it was on Messenger. I've sent them through to him before.
Yeah, I
Did you
just
say it's
saw
called
the
creepy cryptids and paranormal, or
yeah, I just saw the picture. One of my wife and I's best friends sent it to me, and she said, "You have a big black wolf standing on 2 feet. That's not scary at all."
No. Do you have that
No.
picture?
Yes.
Okay. I just got a picture today from somebody. I don't have their permission to mention their name, so I won't mention their name. But this is a Bigfoot sighting here in Missouri. I haven't had a chance to get the picture over to Josh, and there's been no photo editing done to this image whatsoever. Make of it what you will. I'm not saying this is definitive proof, but I know what I can see in the image. So let's see what you guys see.
Damn. Yeah, John, that's not a rock, bro. That's not a rock there.
Yeah.
ugh.
Are we talking about the Mass Center photo?
Mm-hmm. You can kind of see the eyes.
Yeah. Like off to the right of the where the A is.
Yes.
Okay. Wow.
I want to get that image over to Josh and Adam to see what they can pull out of it. But it comes from somebody I consider credible.
All right, DA, I just sent that to you and Josh both. The picture that
Okey-doke.
our friend sent us.
I will have it posted in just a moment.
She said that looks is in Trump speak. That looks huge. It does. It looks pretty freaking big, man. Not gonna lie.
Well, I can definitely
so
see the ear and an
that's the
eye.
zoom.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
man.
the zoomed in one, so it looks a bit blurry. The one that's from further out, like the original photo, is a bit clearer, but that's the best one out of the three. Like, that's crazy, hey.
That's nuts, man. Let me see. I think I've got.
I've had people try and tell me that it was a bird or a kangaroo. I'm like, nah. The only thing I can think of, it looks like a big black German Shepherd or a wolf.
Yeah, you can see the bridge of its nose running down to the end of its snout.
I'm gonna send y'all the unzoomed picture too.
Okay.
DA. This
I'm
is the
waiting.
unzoomed picture. All right. Inbound.
Excuse
Bless
me.
you.
It still makes the hairs on the back of my neck stand up every time I look at it. Like, to know that I was that close to it, like, it's crazy. So in the three photos too, they look a bit different in all three, and like my mates and that said, it's like it was sort of might have been moving its head as I've taken the three, and that's why it looks a little bit different. But the third one, you can see it completely like perfect.
Looks pretty damn tall.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
So when
That
you look
is
at the
what-
bush,
yeah,
there, it
that's-
sort of looks like it doesn't the bush line there. It doesn't look like it's really high, but when you get out of there, that whole front and like below it, it's all vines. And when you go in there, it's actually empty. Like it's just an outside sort of cover. So all under there is all flat, and there's no little trees for anything to stand up. Because someone said, "Oh, it's a dog up a tree," and I was like, "I don't know any dogs that can climb up trees like that." And there was nothing in there for even me to stand on to try and get to where that exact spot is.
It looks like a Type 3 variant 1 in that
Mhm.
picture. It really does.
Yeah, I've actually seen that image come up before. I think a lot of people have been circulating your image. Some people have even claimed it as their own, and I hate when people do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I seen a video on YouTube the other day of dogman encounters, and I could actually see my photo in that YouTube video. And I went, "Oh, that's good." I even posted on it. "Oh, nice to see my photo up without you getting any
Right.
permission." Like,
I
Yeah.
seen it on a Dogman group, and someone claimed it was in Kentucky, and then in the same thread, someone goes, "No, that's from England," and someone's like, "No, this is a guy in Australia. You guys need to stop using his image."
Yeah.
Someone
might
asked
wanna
if I
water-
could put that on full screen, but that's as big as I can make it.
You might want to watermark your stuff, man. That's for sure. 'Cause people will steal your
Yeah.
photos like crazy.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, if the metadata is connected to it, they know where it was shot.
Mhm.
Right.
You know.
yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
I can DA. I can try to get you a larger image here in
Okay.
a minute.
All right, no problem.
See, what I find the most interesting about that, John, is people talk all the time in biology about how the animals and plants that are in Australia are so much different than the rest of the world because Australia split off from Pangea so much earlier than the rest of the continent separated. It's interesting
Yeah.
that you guys have Dogman and Bigfoot, given the fact that evolution wise, your animals should be so much different. You've got all these marsupials and things. It tells you how old these creatures are. These
Yeah,
haven't
exactly.
shown up in the last 10,000 years. These are old animals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're onto something there, Steve. Definitely.
Yeah,
I mean,
no, I
think
know.
about how
the-
remote Australia is. But
You there?
think of the remoteness of Australia. It's like you're on a plane for 22 hours. It's not like this dogman is swimming across the ocean to get there.
Built a raft.
No, exactly.
Exactly. I mean, this is remote real estate we're talking about here.
Went full Kon-Tiki, made it out of reeds and everything.
Yeah.
I was gonna say it's
Exactly.
it's not Dogman Moana.
yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's not
Okay.
traveling with a volleyball named Wilson. That's
Thanks a
right.
lot, Josh. Now I have the image of a dog man singing the "You're Welcome" song. Hey, it's okay to say you're welcome. Sorry.
And we're demonetized.
Hey, no, that was only a few seconds. That was only a few seconds.
I don't know.
funny
Disney's pretty ruthless.
It's just started
Wow.
raining here.
It's funny
Wow.
too, like with Australia, everyone says, "Oh, yeah, you've got 24 million people live there," but the whole continent's nearly the same size as all the populated areas in America. So it's actually really
Mhm.
big, and the fact that 85% of our population live in 10% of the area. So there's a lot of area that I still reckon there's places 15, 20 k's from my place that white men haven't even been there before. Like, there's so much uncharted areas. We don't know what's out there. Like, people have
Yeah,
still seen
definitely.
footage of. So people have still seen Tasmanian tigers, and they reckon they've been extinct since the 1800s. I've seen panthers. I've had panthers run out in front of me and driving down the road, and we get told there's no panthers here, but there was a marsupial lion from 4,000 years ago. Who's to say that these things haven't still survived in pockets of land, and that's what we're seeing, like, because otherwise we don't have
Sure.
a predatory feline like a cat or a cougar or nothing like that, like native to Australia, like. And it's
Right.
same like the dog man. I've never seen. I've talked to, like, having the indigenous part of my family. Like, I spoke to so many people. I spoke to elders and all that in the land councils and that. No one's even got a story or recollection of these creatures existing, but they've got pictures up in the top of Australia in caves where they've drawn yowies and stuff like that, but there's nothing for this dog man. So I don't know if this creature's only just turned up, or maybe the people that are seeing, maybe the Aboriginals back in the day that seen them didn't survive to tell anyone about them. Like,
That
it's
could
just,
be the
it's
case.
just crazy.
Yeah.
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 Well,
Well, I think it's
what
interesting.
Leon was saying earlier. I'm sorry, Steve. Go ahead, man.
No, go ahead, Kerry.
No, it's similar to what John was just saying. Similar to what Leon was saying earlier about how in the UK, the government's not acknowledging any of the evidence of big cats that are hanging around there, but people are seeing them, and it's irrefutable. You know,
They've been hit on the motorways.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Well,
tough
yeah,
to
there's-
deny it when a car
yeah.
takes one out and they got a dead body.
There's stories. There's stories of people saying every couple of months you hear someone getting on the internet and talking about they'd seen a Tasmanian tiger dead on the side of the road in the Blue Mountains, which isn't far from Sydney. And by the time they've realised what it was and gone to do a U-turn and go back, someone's pulled up and taken it off the road, or like they've thought it wasn't it and gone home and went, hang on a minute, that was a Tassie tiger I seen dead on the side of the road. They go back to look, there, it's gone. Like, it's all the time, hey. Like, it's the same with the panthers and yowie sightings. There's probably 3 or 4 different types of yowies in Australia too, and that's what sort of trips people out. Like, there's the ones that one of my mates, he's always in the Blue Mountains. He's seen the little 3 foot, 4 foot, they call them Junjuddies and stuff
Call them
like that.
puckwudgies
And
here.
yeah,
Puckwudgie.
and they reckon they're the worst ones. They're the ones that will try to attack you or try and take your stuff, and they got the average size ones, and then there's actually some up in certain areas too. They reckon the Bigfoot can grow to some of the yowies. I think they call them quinkins. They actually grow to 15 foot tall, and they reckon they're the giants. Like, and there's been multiple sightings of them too, and that makes me think of the ones that. What's that?
Have there ever been any accounts of any with pronounced snouts?
No, that's
Kinda
one
like
of my
this.
friends was saying maybe. Yeah, one of the guys was saying like maybe it was a yowie that I'd seen in my photos and stuff like that, but I've never heard of anything like that here. But like the really big ones they talk about, they remind me of the ones they talk about. I think it's in Alaska. They get the really Bigfoot up there. Like, I think it's Alaska they've talked about. They're seeing the 13, 14 footers and stuff, and
Yeah,
it's
they
so
see some big
crazy.
ones in Alaska.
crap. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that was like German Shepherd ears, man. I mean, or wolf ears. That's definitely pronounced.
You can even make out the bridge of the nose, lighter hair on the muzzle, the sunken eyes under the forehead crest. Like it has all the distinct shape of a canine.
Yeah.
Even at a pixelated, I upscaled this and color corrected it a little bit, and I mean,
Josh?
I see a dog face.
You know what the
Yeah,
shape of that
same.
head reminds me of?
Yeah,
This.
same one.
Oh, dude. Yeah. Dude. Holy shit.
It looks
Absolutely.
very similar to the images we got.
Like if
That
you
was
look at
over
this
Joe
one,
Ball, wasn't it?
if
Yeah,
you look
the
at this
Joe
one
Ball Rec
too,
area. About
you can
40
see
miles from where I live.
the pointed ears on this one too, and even the tapered shape of the head there as well.
The clawed hand.
Mm-hmm.
Damn,
Yeah, the head
dude.
shape of that completely reminds me of that one image I brought up.
Yeah. Wow. Well, there you
Yeah,
go.
in
Another
my
reason to
original
drink.
ones, I know what it's like when you send stuff too. Like the pictures on my phone, because I only got it on a Samsung S8, like a really old phone. But when
Right.
you look at it on my phone, it's a million times better. As soon as you send it, whether it's email or Facebook or anything like that, it just takes all the quality out of it. And even like I've sent photos to my friends and showed them, and they went, "Oh yeah," and then I show them on my phone, and they're like, "That's not the same photo." I'm like, "Yeah, it is. That's how much quality you lose sending it. Like, it's crazy."
Yeah, we internally try to share them like via like cloud, like OneDrive or Google Drive or something to
Yeah.
try to preserve. But even doing that, you still lose a little bit. But Facebook and things like that, text message will just shred the image quality.
Yeah, it compresses the hell out of it.
Marshall wants to know what the hell was that. Which one? We've showed like 3 photos.
Hey, I just sent y'all something. I sent you something, DA. My friend Lynn sent it up there, and it was with a blue filter on it.
I'm loading it now.
Holy definition, Batman.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the ones from my video. There's a red filtered one too, and them two ones just stand out like crazy.
Well, that
Yeah,
one's
you know,
pretty obvious.
When you look at that, having a dog myself, and DA, you have a dog as well.
Yeah.
You can actually see white hair around its mouth, the front of its mouth, as a dog gets older. The snout and the tip of its mouth goes white.
Right on the chin. Yeah, it gets much whiter.
I'm gonna see the
red filter. It looks like it's got a broken. It looks like it's been hit by something. Like it looks like it's got a broken nose. If you see sort of where the eye socket is, it's sort of like it looks like an old boxer would get after they've been punched in the face too much. Like you can on my phone. Yeah, with my phone on like the original photos, like you can even see the end of the snout, like where the nose is actually a different color to the rest of the body too. Like a dog has, like they've always got the real shiny black nose. Like
I mean, I got a German Shepherd, so very similar, size or not size but shape, and that's I mean, if you looked at him from the frontal view, that's very, very similar.
Yeah.
Well, I know it's not the same type of head shape, but this is my dog, and you can see the gray around his nose, and it's very much like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But when you look at that, the definition of the head is just there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a weird thing happened to me when I was a kid, and Dad only brought it up to me a couple of months ago when I was showing him the photos and talking about it. And when my daddy was doing the milk run. Him and my pop used to deliver milk to the town I live in. Anyway, he used to get up 2:00 in the morning. So on the weeknights, he'd sleep in the little spare room near the front of the house, so he didn't wake my mum and my sister up. Anyway, I think I was about 6 or 7, and I had a nightmare, and I heard a noise at the window and thought I seen a dog outside the window, and I went into Dad's bed and hopped in with him, and I said, "Listen, Dad, there's a dog at the window." And he's like, "What do you mean?" And I after he told me, I remembered it. There was actually a dog. It must have heard me or something. It actually leant against the windowsill in the window, and when I opened the blinds up, this dog was looking me in the face. And he said to me, he goes, "I only thought of this because back then I didn't know what a German Shepherd was." And I said, "Dad, there's a police dog at the window. There's a police dog." And Dad said to me, he goes, "How the hell do we not know that thing you're seeing at the window wasn't one of these creatures?" And they've always sort of been around. Because he even said, "Oh, there's nothing there." And then 2 or 3 minutes later, a couple of the pot plants in the garden got smashed as something ran through the bush. And he got up then and went outside and said, "Oh, there's nothing there." But yeah, and he actually reminded me of that story and said, that thing could have been around that whole time. Like, it's just crazy. We lived right in the middle of the town then too, so.
That red one really just jumps out at you.
Yeah, it does. That's probably the best one.
Josh, maybe you should try doing a blue and red filter on that image we got.
Yeah, we could try something like that.
Yeah.
See if we can bring it out more, because there's some people I want to send that to.
The issue, I'll tell you off the air. The issue with your image is that because it's so dark, we had to bring as much light into it as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And so where with this one, you already have, ambient light. With yours, it's hard because we have to apply so much light to it to see anything at all. But I'll see what we can do.
Wish I had the camera I have now, because its low light capability is awesome. We would have lit that thing up like a Christmas tree.
That may not have worked in your favor, though.
Maybe not. If I'd have seen it was there, there may have been some lead flying.
Fact. Yeah, and like
that's
I said,
that's the other
probably
thing.
Had to shake something out of my pant leg at the same time.
Yeah.
Well, and DA, I'll be bringing that Pulsar, that thermal. That's
nice.
You got all the different color palettes on there, so it's really crisp, really sharp.
If you got your Jeep, maybe we can finally get into that area where they bulldozed it off.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to get in there, but I don't have a 4-wheel drive capable of it.
Yeah,
that's probably the scariest part about my photos as well. It was daylight. Like, when I got them photos, it was 7:30 in the morning, and even the roars, it was about 7 o'clock in the morning too, like full daylight. Like that thing stalked me in the daylight hours, and because I'd stopped fishing early in the morning in the dark after I had the bluff charge with the yowie. I was like, nah, I'm not going out in the dark anymore by myself. Like, I'll wait till the sun comes up. And then these two things had happened. I'd seen other stuff over there. Also, I went up to a different part of the river and I was fishing along, and I don't know if you guys get it over there, but in our gum trees, where the mistletoe birds will spread the seeds of those mistletoe plants, and they start to grow in the tree, and they take over the tree. I don't know if you guys have it over there or.
We have gum trees with those little spiked little balls that fall off of them. I hate those things.
Yeah, we have gum trees, but we'll have a I think it's called the mistletoe knots. They actually a mistletoe will start growing on the tree, and it takes over and ends up strangling the tree. Well, I seen a big gum tree one morning. I was fishing in the daylight, and I seen this. I was at the top of the tree. It's probably a 30-meter tree, and at the top there was this massive thing. And I looked and went, oh, that's a bit of that mistletoe. And after a little bit, I was fishing. I started to laugh to myself. I was like, that mistletoe looks like it's got a face. Anyway, I fished off. I've gone up the river and fished for an hour or so, and I come back and I looked at that tree and went, that mistletoe with the face is gone. And this thing would have been 4 foot wide at the top of this tree, like hugging it. There was obviously something up there hugging the top of the tree. Wow. And then a couple of days later, I had this roar, and then 3 days later, I got the photos. There's definitely stuff over there. Like, it wasn't just a thing. It's just sort of rocked up, and I've just caught it out of coincidence. Like, this thing obviously lives around the area, and I reckon there's more. I reckon that's why I got the photo of it. And a lot of people have said that you've got them photos while he had his head sticking out there, so you didn't see what was going on further up the river, or might have been in the bush. He's probably trying to get me to look at him, so I didn't see the other ones or the babies get away or something like that. Like, they wouldn't just show themselves for no reason, if you know what I mean.
He was looking for breakfast, man.
I think you're right.
I think he was looking for breakfast.
Yeah, and I was lucky. Like I said, I was lucky I didn't see that and realised what was going on and stopped and looked at my phone straight away, because I reckon I would have freaked out and took off, and that's probably when it would have gone pear-shaped and it would have chased me.
Probably.
Wow, man. Wow. Glad you made it out, brother. That's
no
scary
kidding.
stuff.
Yeah. It was like the scariest part was when I got the first encounter with it and I had the roars and that happened. I went to a spot that I wasn't going to. I got to another spot and the gates were locked. So I'm going to go try this new place. And there's no phone service over there, so I couldn't message the missus to say, hey, I'm going to a different spot. So if I'd gone missing that day, no one would have known where to look for me.
Wow.
You know, I was reading that question you put up there, DA, about the anatomy of, like, where's the shoulder?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's hard to say depending on is it leaning forward? Is the arm reached out, which would pull the shoulder in? I mean, there's a lot of ways the shoulder would not appear where it should normally appear.
Yeah.
We don't know how long the necks are, depending on the way it's standing, or, you know, there's a lot of things that it's hard to say. I don't think it's disproportionate to not have a shoulder.
I think well, you can kind of see the trapezius. It looks almost like the shoulders are behind coverage, like foliage.
Right.
That's just my opinion. That's because the way that looks, if you look at that right there, it looks like you got the trapezius muscles on both sides of the neck, but then you've got foliage in the foreground. So I think the shoulders are just behind foliage.
And like I said, even looking at that, it doesn't look unnatural without seeing the shoulder. Like, I would question it if it looked ill-proportioned, but I don't know, eye-pleasing is the best way, I guess, to put it. Like, it doesn't look wrong.
Yeah. And how much ground could that thing cover? How much ground could that thing cover in 100 yards? 150 yards to that thing would be nothing. And
Nick, they move pretty quick, don't they?
Extremely quick. My God, covering. Let's put it this way: I can cover 22 feet in 2 seconds. If I was going to run at you as a human, something like that. It's quad power is just like 5 times
Yeah.
ours.
Well,
Yeah.
Nick,
yeah.
that one we got a glimpse of in LBL, how fast do you think that thing was moving?
That thing was moving, and it was moving downhill too, no less. So it moved.
Yeah.
We only got maybe 2 seconds, and it was gone.
Oh, it was totally
Well,
gone.
and-
This thing was huge.
I wish I'd had my
Yeah.
camera up. We were just driving real slow down some of these roads in LBL, and I didn't have my camera set to film because there's so many miles of roads. I didn't have enough memory to film everything, so I just kind of had my phone there, waiting to film something. And by the time I even totally said, Nick, there it is, it was gone so quick I couldn't even get my phone up.
Well, and
The
DA,
only thing
didn't you
I
say
saw-
that they go from
a large
bipedal
mass.
to quad? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Nick.
No, I was just saying the only thing I saw was a large black mass, and DA got a better glimpse of it, and it was gone. We got out to look, and you could see where all the leaves were disturbed, and it just went down. I mean,
And that was broad
no
daylight.
way we're going to follow that.
Yeah, it
Well-
went down into a ravine that the foliage was so
Yeah, there's
thick.
no way we were going to follow that.
And don't they typically, if they're standing up, bipedal obviously, but when they're scooting, they drop down to all fours, and they're really covering some serious ground doing that.
That's a fact.
Oh yeah,
Wow. And they're good
Well,
swimmers,
that,
which is even more terrifying.
really good swimmers. Yeah,
That first encounter I had with them, like that when it was running at me, smashing the trees out of the way, like it's probably come from 200-300 meters up the mountain, and the way it moved, it sounded like it was Usain Bolt. And the bush, how thick it was, like some of the trees and that you could see bouncing out of the way, like it was obviously just running and just hitting it with its forearm or stuff, and you'd see trees shaking and that, like, and just even the roar, like how loud it was, I could feel it in my chest. You just have to think how big their lung capacity could be, like to be able to roar that hard. And then if their lung capacity is like that, you could just imagine how athletic they are and how quick they could actually move. Like,
Yeah, John, we were talking about that the other night about with the Sasquatch and everything. If you're talking something 8 to 10 feet tall, look at a normal adult lung capacity is 2.5 to 3 liters per side. So that's 6 liters. So let's double that. So you're talking 10 to 12 liters, for lung capacity. That's some serious capacity for speed and for pronunciation.
yeah.
And you said
that
you were able
roar-
to. Oh, go ahead.
What's that?
I was gonna say
Hey.
you were able to hear it inhale almost as loudly as it roared, right? Is that what you were saying?
Yeah. So it
That's
roar,
crazy.
and then it go like that. But when it did, it actually sounded like a grizzly making a sort of a noise, like it was breathing in that hard, and then it just exploded with this roar. On the video on the video on my YouTube channel with the photos, like the video I put together at the end of that, it's actually got the roar because I recorded it on my GoPro.
Oh, nice.
I'm gonna have to watch
I
those
had
videos.
There's a video on there. It's actually the original footage because I had the GoPro going the whole time on my chest mount. But on it, you can barely hear it. So I've had to put it on the computer and sort of, because the cockatoos, like the birds, were going crazy. And I've sort of had to cut it up a bit to try and cut the birds out of it. And you can actually hear it go, oh, and then go, "Rah." Like, I can't even do the same noises. Like, it's just freaky. But yeah, if you have a look at that, you should be able to pick it up. If not, I can send it through to Nick or email it through to you guys or something like that so you can hear it.
Yeah, I'd love to check it out.
I actually recorded. I was telling Nick about a month or two ago. I was out the front having a smoke one night, and I was putting my stuff in my work, getting ready for the next morning, and I could hear a siren coming across our bridge. It's about 100 meters away, and as the siren, the car, like I think it was the police, the siren would go off for a little bit. When it would stop, we're probably about 500 meters from the river from our place, and whenever the siren would stop, I actually recorded a roar coming from down the river. And it's not a dog because I know all the dogs in the area when the sirens go past, they're all little yappy dogs and that. This thing was a roar, and I actually recorded it. And I was like, it freaked me out more because I was like, is this thing hanging around me, or is it just there's more of them now? Like, are they breeding or what? But it was probably the closest thing I've heard to what I recorded when I had the charges. Bar, I think one of the Sasquatch Chronicles at the start of it, they have a bit of footage someone sent in when they were out camping. And you could hear this thing roaring in the distance, and the husband and wife are talking between each other. And that's the only thing I've heard on the internet that was close to what I recorded. But I think it was from Iowa or something like that. And I'm like, a long way away from where I'm living. Like, it's crazy. But I'll try and send them through to Nick and that so you can have a look at them and that. Like, it's just crazy.
Wow. Dang.
Yeah, just probably about half an hour ago, someone put a comment about Bigfoot Yowies and dogmen out there need to get bit by a snake, and
Oh yeah.
what are their immune system like? We're going back to mentioning horses before. I'm sure I've read somewhere that antidotes are made from horse blood, aren't they? Because of the size of the animal. More, do you think that an animal that could possibly get to 15 feet tall and God knows how heavy could be immune to things like that because of the
I think it's
pure
likely.
size of it?
Well, and their metabolism as well could help burn through that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I didn't even know like the wild boar we have here in the United States, the wild boar are immune to that stuff too.
Yeah, they love
And
rattlesnake.
so, yeah, they'll eat the hell out of rattlesnake. But we're using also, besides the equine antivenom, we're using sheep, because people have more of an allergic reaction to the bio component of the equine or the horse venom antivenom than they do sheep. Sheep are more non-allergenic, so we're using it we're using sheep now a lot too. But yeah, as far as that size goes, absolutely, that's entirely plausible. You know, I mean, if a pig can be allergic to a crotolid or some of the neurotoxic stuff they have, like the common brown that John has down there, the common brown's are the taipan, those snakes they have down there in Australia. I hate snakes, so I know a lot about snakes. And they got to know your enemy. But I mean, it's entirely plausible that something 10 feet tall. I mean, it'd be just like it's a fire ant biting us, you know, down in Mississippi. You know, just pisses it off.
Yeah.
I'm of the opinion there's only two kinds of snakes in this world: kind of snake that'll kill you, and the kind of snake that'll make you kill yourself trying to get away from it.
Yeah, the only good one's a dead one. Sorry.
Yeah. I was talking to Indigenous people sometimes, and I said to them, "What did the Indigenous Australians, like the Aboriginals, do when they got bitten by snakes? There's always been brown snakes, taipans, and that." And they actually said, "I'm not going to try it, but if one of the Aboriginals got bitten by a brown snake, they'd lay down, and within 2 to 3 days, their body had actually spat the poison out. They wouldn't actually die as long as they laid still and didn't move, because the more you move, when you move, it'd actually get the blood pumping, and it would pump through like a brown snake. If you're not, like, you get bitten on the leg, you got to brace it up and that, and you can't move it barely at all, and you got to get to hospital within half an hour or you're dead, like, and you don't just die a nice death, like people start bleeding out and everything, like, but they'd get bitten and they'd lay down, and the family members and that would bring them food and water and stuff so they didn't have to move, and 2 or 3 days later they'd start to feel a bit better, hop up, and they wouldn't die from it.
Wow. That's amazing.
So maybe these creatures have done that, or they've been bitten that many times over the years that it's just, as soon as they breed, it's just automatically in their babies. Like, I know, like with working with horses. Yeah, with horses, I do trotters. So like the paces, like you guys have over in the Meadowlands and stuff like that. 20 years ago, you'd get a trotter and like a pacer, and you'd have to put it in hobbles and break it in to make it pace because it wasn't its natural gait. And the last 2 to 3 years, when the foals are being born, they're actually getting up and they're actually pacing or trotting before they gallop. And that's not natural gait for them. Like, we've taught them to do it for hundreds of years, and now they're actually being born, and before they even know how to run, they're actually pacing and trotting. Like, it's the same thing. Like, maybe that's happened with the Yowies, dogmen, and all that. Like, they've just built up an immunity, and they're passing it on to their.
I think that's what they refer to as a genetic memory.
Absolutely. Yeah. They get inoculated, and it just passes it on. So yeah, that's totally plausible.
Anyway, guys, I'm gonna have to head off because my kids are about to get home, and we're gonna cook dinner because it's 5 o'clock, like 5 p.m. over here. So I have to start getting them ready. But thanks for having me on the show, and
hey, thank you for joining us, man. It was great to have you.
Nice to talk.
Yeah, it's real good.
Love
to jump on again with you one day.
Hey, you're welcome anytime, man. We'd love to have you.
Take care.
Thanks,
Nice
guys.
meeting you, John.
Have a great
Yeah,
night.
you too. See you
Bye,
later.
mate.
Take care now.
Take care. Cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Man, that
Man,
was
that-
freaking cool.
Oh yeah.
Not gonna lie, man, that was freaking cool. Holy
Yeah,
shit.
very.
Yeah,
Oh man.
lucky
2.5
bastard.
hours. I'm about to have to pee on the fire and call in the dogs myself, man.
Well, we are rapidly approaching the third hour. We can start wrapping things up. I would before we go like to talk a little bit about the upcoming video game. Josh, you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yes.
Yeah. My company, All Tower Media, we're currently working on a video game that is going to be set in the world of D.A. Roberts books. It's going to focus on some cryptids to start with. It won't be tied to a specific book currently, but we are working with him on lore, and going forward, assuming this is successful, which I have a good feeling it will be. A lot of people seem interested in it. We are then going to go into doing the books as video games as well. This story is going to be set in a fictional national park with multiple cryptids within the park, some human antagonists as well, and it'll be interesting to see how all of that integrates together. We are designing it to where, as you progress through the park, in order to unlock new areas and possibly new weapons and new ways of survival, you will have to locate clues and tools to unlock those areas. In addition to that, you'll have multiple storylines to unravel and multiple endings that you can end on, which will be very interesting. So there'll be different levels of survival, and how many people can you bring with you to the end of the game? We're including a lot of people from the community. Carrie, we are going to be getting with him here shortly to do a special project for us. We're kicking around ideas for Naoma and Nick and any other people that would like to be involved that we constantly have on the show. We'd like to get them involved. And we'll be running a Kickstarter probably around the beginning of May, just at the end of tax season, because all of y'all will be flush with cash at that point. And you'll be able to share your good wealth with us to help get this game going. But we want to make it as good as we can for as many people as we can. And we've been showing DA some inside baseball shots, and it's been going pretty good. We're very excited. Unfortunately, those are no longer valid.
Really?
We had the visitor center is valid though. We had a small compatibility issue with the NPC creator jiving with Unity. So unfortunately, we had to go with a different modeler for the faces.
That's too bad, because those looked real.
Yeah.
Josh, I got a quick question for you, Josh.
Yeah. Any questions? I'd like to answer as much as I can.
Will there be any angry sex with a snowmobile? Yeah, will they go? I'm just saying.
Maybe not in this one, but there are plans to include it in a possible future game.
That line
as an Easter
has
egg.
to show up.
Excellent, because
if
we gotta
it's
do a
in the
t-shirt,
books,
Josh, we got to do a T-shirt.
Yep. If it's in the books as a plot point like that, because I consider that a plot point, it will most likely appear in the game versions of the books.
Good,
If anyone in
DA
chat
and I
has
were saying it should be a
questions,
T-shirt.
Want me to show the
absolutely.
trailer?
Yeah,
show the trailer, man.
You should go ahead and show the trailer. And like I said, if anyone in chat has questions about the game, feel free to answer. I may not be able to answer all of them, but I'll answer what I can.
Tower 7, come in. Come in, Tower 7. Tower 7, do you copy? Welcome to the wonderful life of Fire Lookout. My name's Alan. You must be Jeremiah. I'm just glad to hear anything but static. Last guy just up and quit. We're on our own for now.
What the hell is this? There's nothing like this on any of the maps.
Oh, thank God I got a hold of you. Listen, it's a kid. They're missing. When you look out at the forest at night, does it ever feel like it's looking back?
Dude,
Well,
that's straight
Oh.
fire, man.
I love that trailer.
That looks great.
I'm just saying. That is straight fire.
Is
It
that gonna
answers.
be a computer game?
Yeah. So that's what a couple of these questions have come up a lot. It's going to be a computer game, available through Steam at first. We may open it up to other channels later, and depending on how successful the Kickstarter is, we may even consider other platforms such as consoles. As of right now, that's not even on the table, just because of resources. It does take quite a bit to transition from a PC to console. No, it will not be a first-person shooter. It'll be a cinematic horror game. So we're going to go with some really cinematic camera angles while you play. There will be some first-person aspects to play up the horror aspect. We definitely want you to feel like you're in the moment, possibly being chased by, kind of want to share some of it and kind of don't at the same time. Obviously, you guys know there's Dogmen because it's in the trailer. So, but there is another cryptid faction involved as well. We want to kind of bounce between first person and cinematic. Future games will be more first person, especially the Wild Hunt game.
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
We really want to do a Wild Hunt game further down the line for people to play together. Integrated RPG. Kind of. It's hard to really pin this as a specific style of game, is because we're trying to create our own take on a couple different systems. So we want it to be unique, and we want people to enjoy. People that enjoy different games, like people that enjoy first-person shooters, should get a lot out of it. People that enjoy games like Legends of Zelda, because that is a game where you have to have a certain tool to unlock a specific temple, or so on and so forth. So we want people that enjoy different games to enjoy this game as well.
For Dead was one of my favorite ones.
Yep.
Left
Left
I
4
love
Dead.
those.
Yeah,
Yep.
great.
Definitely
great
going to have
zombie
elements of stuff like that. So,
game. Good.
let's see. Trying to think of some other questions that have been asked in the past. Definitely PC. There is a cool aspect where you will be playing two separate characters. You'll be playing one in current time, but to learn what is going on to get further into the story, you'll be playing someone that has also gone missing, kind of through their, not so much memories, but you'll be playing through what happened to them, kind of bouncing back and forth to learn the entire story. So if anyone has any other questions, feel free to shoot them out to me.
Looks really good, Josh. I can't wait, man. I showed my friend Lynn was watching the show the other night, and she saw that preview or the trailer, and she's like, "Dude, I'm not even a video game person, and I want to get that."
Yeah, we're very excited, and that was actually taken with an early version of a lot of the graphics, and we have since tuned up a lot of the graphics from even that trailer.
Nice.
So
Nice.
the thing that you and I are going to be working on what's cool about that, and you know about it, is that it's completely separate and fictional, but like still shows off some of the park. And then we're going to be doing a massive Kickstarter trailer with some interviews with us as All Tower Media, some interview with D.A. Roberts, and people who that take part of the Kickstarter. You will be able to get copies of the game for relatively cheap, access to the beta for relatively cheap, and then a lot of people who are part of the Kickstarter will actually have their names in game. We're trying to come up with a really cool way to do that, to where you can go to an area and see everyone who's donated, and then people who donate a little higher can actually get involved with the game voice an NPC, use their likeness, and be even at a certain level, we have 2 spots where you're actually part of the decision process. They can become producers on the game.
Nice.
So we got a lot of spots for Kickstarter backers.
You're going to have a pith helmeted British explorer. Oh no, they couldn't possibly exist.
I was just going to say
Sir.
that if you need any
Sir.
crazy English voices, I'm your man.
Sir.
Oh, we've actually discussed like I said, people that have been on the show and are in DA's circle, we definitely want to include them in the game somehow. So we'll have conversations for sure.
Do some
that's
Zulu
good.
stuff like Michael Caine. Don't throw those bloody spears at me.
Yeah. If you don't behave like a Shah, you'll be treated like a Shah.
That was
Uh.
awesome. Oh my god.
Oh man.
There's a question for you on screen, Josh.
Let's see. Are you able to state this time what the initial Kickstarter goal is or number of contribution level stretch goals? So we're still working on stretch goals. One of the stretch goals I know for sure is that we want to voice every character you come into contact with, maybe even some that just have one-liners. We want this to be, the goal is for this to feel like you're playing through a horror movie. Even though you're playing a game and you're making decisions and there'll be multiple endings, with the camera effects and talking to people, I want it to feel more like you're in an interactive movie than you are just playing a dialogue game. If that makes any sense.
So it's a totally immersive experience, is what you're saying.
We're trying to get as immersive as possible. Yeah.
Nice.
So the total goal right now, and it may change, but approximately right now we're looking at about $16,000, which is relatively low for an indie game. A lot of them shoot for 50 to 100,000. Whereas AAA titles get into the millions. We're not even looking at that. But we're looking right around 16,000. So we're hoping if we can get a handful of people just to be interested in the lower level tiers. We have about 7 tiers right now. Like I said, the lower level ones, just copies of the game, having beta access and recognition in the game. Higher levels, you have, like I said, be able to get into the game. There's signed copies of books that DA is going to donate to higher levels. You can come on and have actual one-on-ones with us and DA, whether it's a live show or just internally. There's going to be some really cool perks for people donating.
I mean, we might even throw in a med kit or something. Who knows?
Well, there's a dark kit already in the Watchtower.
Well, there you go. So Dark Angel Medical's down to throw in a med kit too. So there you go.
So lots of cool things. We definitely want to tie in. We were going to talk with DA and Nick about a possibly name dropping the NADP in there somewhere. Maybe have an investigator from the group show up, in the park at some point. A lot of cool things that we want to do.
Nice. That's gonna
So
be
hopefully
awesome.
that answers that question.
Hey, folks,
That's
if you
gonna be
haven't
awesome.
been chatting here recently, go ahead and monkey roll the key, type gibberish, type, hey, how you guys doing? Just anything at all, just to get your name into the chat. And that's the YouTube chat, because we are about to be giving away a $5 Amazon gift card, which coincidentally is just enough to purchase one of the Kindle downloads of my book. Total coincidence. Total coincidence.
Coincidence? I think not.
I blame it on my wife. It was her idea.
It reminds me of that
Good idea.
the teacher from was it The Incredibles when he's watching the little fast kid? He's like, coincidence? I think not.
I think
He
not.
moved.
moved.
Inconceivable.
Did you see it? He moved. So just randomly type anything. Tell us where you're from. Tell us the favorite, your favorite host is Josh. All of that good stuff.
South Access Ghibli. He talking Ghibli.
Ghibli.
Oh, mercy,
There
God.
will be Ghibli in the game. I can guarantee it.
Mark Napier says, yay, Nightbot doesn't hate me anymore.
Yeah, Mark won last time, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, lovely. Speaking of, matter of fact, Mark, I think he won the journal, right, Mark? I never got the second email from you. I replied back requesting your address. I need that. So double check your email, and if you did, tell me so I can go dig it out because I missed it apparently. Oh man. So yeah, that's the game. We're going to be doing a lot of push between here and the Kickstarter launch, and even more push after the Kickstarter launch. I can't say right now because we haven't really talked to him about it yet, but we are looking for someone to voice the trailer that has voiced some other things for DA, that has, done a few things for him verbally, and we're hoping we can lock him down for the Kickstarter trailer. That's all I'm going to say right now.
Mondoc 40 Research says, will Steve Lilly make an appearance?
Steve Lilly, maybe not. That is someone else's property. We only have IP from DA. But if I can get a release from Cam for Lilly and maybe his voice, I would love to have Cam in it as well. So we'll have those conversations as well.
Yeah, Tanya Willis just did a "So I married an axe murderer" quote, which is awesome.
He'd Dune.
He'd pants. No, it's like an orange in a tooth pack. Jesus Christ. It's like a veritable Sputnik.
His own solar system.
It's so big, it's got its own weather system.
He's hauling that gargantuan and crying him about. He'll go upstairs and cry himself to sleep on his huge pillow.
Really growing up, you've turned into a wee sexy wee bastard.
Get in my belly. Wrong movie, but it's okay.
Still funny.
Still funny.
Well,
Okay.
we given everyone a chance. All right, so we're gonna do the gift card first.
Yeah, we'll do the gift card first. Hooter Transport
right.
says no banjo music soundtrack.
Well, depending on where you're at on the map, you may hear something similar. So, rolling for the Amazon gift card. Looks like Sal Passos is the winner of the gift card.
Look at Sal.
Way to go, Sal.
Congrats.
Sal, shoot me an email. You already have my email address. Shoot me an email.
Golf clap for Sal. Golf clap.
Absolutely bloody marvelous. I say absolutely bloody marvelous.
Brilliant. Crack on, Ben. Crack on.
All right. So, and then, Carrie, you said you're in for a shirt.
Yes, sir. Let's do it.
All right. Let's spin it up. And for
This
the shirt,
is for a Dark Angel Medical t-shirt.
looks like Ace Banner 007.
Word. Ace, send me your email. Send me your email and shipping address too. Come in chat.
Very good.
Very, very nice.
So send that.
Congratulations to our winners.
Send all your info to that Carrie at darkangelmedical.com. Along with your t-shirt size. That's important info, maybe.
Yeah.
Unless you want a medium.
Fat guy in a little shirt.
You want
Hey,
a pillow?
I can't feel my hands.
It looks like a mankini.
You ate paid chips as a kid?
Hey, Carrie, what'd you think of the new commercial, the remastered, the director's cut of the commercial?
I like it a lot.
I was pretty happy with it. I was like,
Yeah.
why didn't I do this the first time?
We can even do another one too. So I'll do it with a better mic and everything, give you a better sound quality.
Yeah, it's taken me a little bit of trips to the Audition software to clean that up a little bit. And that's not you. That's just getting rid of the room noise echo.
Yeah.
I mean, other than that, it was fine.
Right
Sal,
on.
just
They look
shoot
good.
me an email when you have a chance, and I'll send you that Amazon gift card.
Oh my gosh, this has been fun.
Mhm.
Good night. Good show. Great show.
Hey, let's do one more giveaway.
Okay.
We'll do one for a audio code for a download of Odin's Call.
Ooh.
Oh, is that the one that Cam does?
Yes, that's the one that Cameron Buckner did.
All right. So if you guys haven't typed in chat yet, do it now
You
because
better be quick because don't miss this. Oh,
Yeah, I burned through it in one night. I was like, oh, this is so good. All right, folks, we're gonna roll. We're gonna roll for the audio code. Amazon Audible book Odin's Call, read by Cabin Buckner of Dixie Cryptid. Here we go.
drum roll.
Tanya Willis.
Tanya Willis
Congrats.
has won the free audio code.
Marvelous.
So if you will email me at daroberts@daroberts.net, I will send that code right out to you. Sal, check your email. I just sent yours.
Very nice, very nice. Congrats to all of the winners.
Yeah, awesome.
Tanya's excited. She says, "Yay, thank you."
You are more than welcome.
Depending where they are, they'll be up all night listening to it.
It's worth it. Oh,
It definitely is.
Cam does
Tina.
a great job.
Ragnarok. I love all his books, but I started with Ragnarok. That shit's good, man.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate that. Ace Banner says, Carrie just emailed you. Thank you.
Get yourself a dark shirt.
There was a comment earlier.
There
This
was a
from
lot of comments earlier.
from John. This is Leon and Nick. I'll let you guys field this one because you guys have a lot of great information to share. John, who was just on from Creepers Cryptid, said, "Have you guys got any tips to help me look for Dogman more over there?"
John asked me that question when we were talking one day on Facebook Messenger, and I was like, John, what do you got to defend yourself with out there? You know, can you get some bear spray? I mean, seriously. I think
My
the best thing
rapier-like wit is as sharp as the cutting edge of a bowling ball.
I think the best thing he can do is to just put out some bait someplace, you know, maybe a little Barbie chicken, and sit back and wait pretty far away with a zoom lens, you know, because he's not going to want to meet up with one of those things. I mean, my God, he already had some close calls.
Yeah, he's in the same boat as I am with regards to bang bang sticks. Don't like him having them over there. I don't like him having them here as well. But yeah, you just keep your eyes in the trees as well as on the ground, and always look for a way out.
Yeah, make sure you have an exit strategy.
Yeah, you're doing pretty good from your boat, but I'd rather have an outboard than a couple of paddles to get away from it. But though on a serious side, you just keep your head on a swivel, keep looking out there, and you're doing good up to now. So you're doing something right.
I kind of think he was lucky up until now. He's going to get in trouble one of these days because he's out there by himself. I mean, that's not a good thing.
I still think Steve and DA were lucky, regardless of having weapons on them or whatever the case may be. It was more curious than hungry, I think, and that's what saved you.
Yep.
Yeah,
Gosh, I like
you're
I
probably
told you,
right
I
about that.
think they looked at Steve and said, "This guy's got a set bigger than ours, so we're not going to mess with him tonight. Let's go after the other guy."
He just
Tanya, I
came
just
up.
sent that email out.
He just came up here and whizzed right in our territory.
Yeah,
Man,
like he's
respect.
barking. What the
Hey,
hell?
speaking of that, I have another encounter story that I got not too long ago that involves something similar. There were some guys camping in the Mark Twain, and this is here in Missouri. One of the guys said, "Hey, I've got to take a leak," and he steps away from camp out into the trees. Well, while he's taking a leak, he gets hit in the head with a pine cone, and he's yelling at his buddies to knock it off. And he's looking around. He thought it came from behind this big bush that was about 10 feet away. So he gets done taking a leak, goes back in and yells at his buddies for throwing at him. They're like, "We didn't throw anything. We never left the campfire." He goes back out to the tree he peed on, and the bush is gone.
Woo! That thing was pissed.
Yeah. He said it was only about 10 feet away.
More than a
Holy
pee after that happening.
It said,
I
"You
said,
ain't
what'd you do after that?" He said, "I held it the rest of the night."
Yeah,
Wow. Wow.
definitely.
Ace asked a quick question about the game. I did put it in chat, but just in case anybody else had the question, it will be mouse and keyboard since it'll be on PC. But I'm going to work with the dev to see if we can also include controller support since Steam supports that as well. Based on how we want to deliver the game, controller support shouldn't be too much of an issue. But we'll keep that in the conversation. It's on the top priority of the wish list.
Well, folks, we are coming up almost on pushing on 3.5 hours. We'll start winding things down. If you guys have not gone over to Leon's channel, Do It Noel's Way on YouTube, go over there and hit like and subscribe, and show a little love to John too over at the Creeper's Cryptid channel. There's the link for that one as well. So both links have been in the chat a few times. You guys can just scroll up the chat and find them. I want to thank everybody that's been a part of the show tonight. Leon, I appreciate you getting up in the middle of the night to hang out with us.
Always worth it, mate. Always worth it.
Well, it's been a great time. And John, thank you for joining us all the way from Australia. We've I think this is the most international show we've ever had.
Yeah.
And we've had a great time and have wonderful questions tonight from the chat. You guys have been the best. Nick, thank you for joining us and bringing your expertise. Doc, it's always a pleasure. Brother, you've got the login now. You're officially a co-host.
I appreciate you, brother. Always good to be part of the crew, man. It's a great show. Always good seeing these folks.
Well, watch for the new opening scene that Josh is working on. So I think
working on it.
I think you're going to see something you might like. Again, I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. We had a wonderful time tonight talking about Dogman. And even if you're not a believer in the Dogman subject, it is very, very difficult to look at this image and not see something. I mean, even this one.
I think the one with the purple really brought it out.
Oops, not that one. We're looking for the purple one. There's the purple one. The purple one. And to me, it's just terrifying how similar it is to the one that Steve and I captured just 40 miles from where I'm standing right now.
Absolutely.
So, folks, whether you want to believe in it or not, those things are out there. And I'm not saying you've got to be afraid every time you go in the woods, but just be cautious. Take a med kit. Take something to protect yourself with. And it doesn't have to be a firearm. You just make sure you got something to protect yourself with, and be observant. Look up, look around you, look behind you occasionally. Stay on the trail if at all possible, unless you're experienced in cutting through the deep bush.
Take some pepperoni with you. Maybe he'll go after that instead of you.
Because there are things out there that aren't cryptid that will still eat you.
Yeah,
Bears, mountain lions, bobcats. There are dangerous animals out there. It's
coyotes. People don't think
wolves.
Come after you.
Yeah, just when you're out anywhere in the woods, just be careful. Look, like I said, look up, look around, look behind you. Be alert, be observant. Take something you can use to protect yourself, even if it's just a big stick. And carry a med kit. Dark Angel Medical has the best kits in the business. I'll say that probably for the rest of my life. It is they're the best. I carried one when I was an active duty cop to tell you how much I put my life in the hands of Doc's kits. They are the best. If you're going anywhere, whether you need a first aid kit or vehicle kit, a trauma kit, whatever medical need you have, you'll find it at Dark Angel Medical. And again, they are the best kits for life. And if you use one to save somebody's life, they will resupply it for free. So go check out Doc over at Dark Angel Medical. Remember that there is a discount code. Let me put that back up on screen. If you decide to purchase a Dark Angel kit, you go to darkangelmedical.com and use the discount code Cryptid25 for 25% off. That's of your entire order. So whatever you order, check it out and make sure you use that code Cryptid25, because then you'll know you came from the show. Again, want to thank everybody. Leon, brother, thank you. You are welcome anytime you want to jump in.
Yep.
I love having you on. Your point of view is awesome, and your humor kills me. Cracks me up every time.
It's great. Fantastic.
Sorry to give you heart palpitations with so much energy drinks.
I know that's been. I'll be awake for 2 days.
Nick, brother. coffee. Nick, brother, thank you for joining us. I love hearing the stories and encounters you've got. Appreciate your experience and your insight. Doc, brother, you bring a great insight to the show, and I'm glad to have you as part of it. Josh, brother, I appreciate you more than you will ever know.
Love hanging out with you guys.
I love hanging out with you, and you help me in more ways than you realize, brother. From websites and T-shirts and everything in between. If I'd be lost without you.
I do what I can.
Well, you do well, sir. Again, thank you guys for joining us tonight. Bless each and every one of you. We don't have friends. We don't have fans. We have friends. We have family. I've said it many times, and I'll say it again. Stories are journeys that we take together. Be they books or these scripted stories. These are journeys we take together. And thank you all for taking that journey with us. And I hope each and every one of you have a wonderful weekend. And we will see you guys on Wednesday night. Good night, everybody.
Good night, Neil.
Good night, everyone.
Night.
Thank you for joining us tonight on DAX Machina. If you ever have an encounter of your own that you wish to discuss, contact us at daroberts@daroberts.net. You can remain completely anonymous if you wish. Pull your covers up tight and keep a nightlight burning bright. Oh, and did you forget to lock your doors?